great Northwest. Temperature in the high 70s as the Steelers have come to Husky Stadium to meet the Seattle Seahawks. Good afternoon, everyone. Don Crickey with the former Raider All-Pro tight end Todd Christensen. Todd, the Steelers have now come from behind 2 straight weeks to win. Everybody knows they're a contender. The Seahawks seem to think if they can win today, they might be one.
Yeah, but you hear the tail end of that youngster giving us the anthem. I think the reality here, Don, is that not only are they in contention for leadership, but they're coming off 2 very different games. The Steelers very dominant against the Colts last week, 500 yards total offense. Seattle, on the other hand, struggled against a very powerful San Diego team here in Husky Stadium. They have to rebound from that loss last week.
Seattle comes into this game with some serious injuries. Their starting corners, one is out and one is hurt. And the Steelers are going to try to send Barry Foster at them. Tom Flores, the Seattle coach, told us yesterday the thing that's most impressive about the Steelers is their resiliency and their ability to stick to their game plan and not panic when they get behind.
Well, I think that's very true, but I think one of the things here that Pittsburgh has to address, even though they admitted to you and I, Don, is that because of the injuries to the secondary, that man, Bill Cowher, I think is going to put it up a little bit more. They have the star wide receiver this year, first-rounder Charles Johnson. Look for him to be a key, integral part of the game today.
And there is Coach Tom Flores. Last year, he saw his team rise from 2 victories the previous year to 6 wins last year with rookie quarterback Rick Meyer. Now Meyer in his second year has directed them to 2 wins on the road to open the season, as we'll have the toss of the coin. The Seahawks playing in their home field now, temporarily Husky Stadium, because of repairs being made to their normal home, the Kingdome in Seattle.
Your choice. Seattle wins the toss.
Red Cashin flipping the coin, and Seattle has won the toss. This is like college football, getting the coin toss on camera. As we check now, the weather conditions just about perfect. Wind not a factor, hazy and warm. Steelers came here a year ago and were beaten badly by the Seahawks. That was at the end of the season, actually at the Kingdome, when Seattle rushed for 267 yards against Pittsburgh.
But you know, Don, this is a different situation out here. I think that is one of the factors that the Pittsburgh Steelers are happy about, is being outdoors. The noise is not as much of a factor here, although I will say this. The one thing I like about it, I'm sure you do too, is I love this collegiate atmosphere, the ambiance of the bay and the boats and everything else. It's just a tremendous situation for football.
It's, of course, a town of celebration today because the normal home team at this stadium, Husky Stadium, the University of Washington, is coming off one of the biggest victories in the history of that storied program, ending the 58-game home win streak of the Miami Hurricanes yesterday at the Orange Bowl.
And in addition, Don, the Washington State Cougars defeated UCLA. A great weekend for Washington collegiate football.
Yeah, Cougars shut him out. Gary Anderson now set to kick off for Pittsburgh. As you see, his kickoffs have not been deep. It's been a problem. 5 kickoffs returned for touchdowns in the last 16 games. And Steeler fans remember vividly, Todd, a week ago when Ronald Humphrey of the Colts ran back Anderson's opening boot, 95 yards for a score.
Well, Don, in fairness to Gary, his kickoffs may not be as deep as they were 10 years ago when he first got into the league, but the cover people just have not done the job. Part of the reason for that is because of the salary cap and so many specialists in football. They're not allowed the opportunity to have the professional special teams players that littered rosters throughout the years.
Now Anderson gets his foot into this one. It'll be taken by Terrence Warren, a rookie wide receiver. Moves it to the outside. He's across the 30 and 35. And again, the Steelers give up a big return on the opening kickoff. Seattle will go on offense. In good position to start this drive. As we look at the Seahawks offensive line, it's the biggest in pro football. Averages almost 315 pounds a man. House Ballard at right tackle. The former Pro Bowler with the Bills is the biggest. Meyer at quarterback. Warren's been a 1,000-yard rusher the past 2 years. They've got a lot of speed. Bates was an Olympic bronze medal winner in the 200 meters at Barcelona. Kelvin Martin and Ryan Blade, the starting wide receivers. As Meyer looks to throw on first down, drills it in hard. Too much on it. Ball out to Kelvin Martin at midfield. And Rod Woodson, the Steeler All-Pro, was there to break it up. As we look at the Pittsburgh front 7, Kevin Henry starting today at right end for injured Ray Seals. Great pass rushers on the outside, and Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd. Woodson, a all-timer, made the all-75-year team of the NFL. Williams and McKay will come in as extra defensive backs. Seattle on 2nd and 10. Steelers who shut down the running of rookie Marshall Faulk a week ago. Key in now on Tracy Johnson, who's starting today.
Now take a look when you see the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As you mentioned, Don, earlier before we got on the air, they have only 5 sacks. They're not a team that necessarily is all over the passer, but they get enough pressure to make them throw sooner than they want to. And, of course, they have an outstanding secondary. And look for Tim McCarr, number 24, former Pro Bowler with the San Francisco 49ers, to be an integral part of the dime defense for Pittsburgh.
He's at the top of your screen on the upper left, Tim McCarr. As they have extra wideouts now on 3rd down. Here's a throw downfield. The ball is caught, but it'll be short of the first down. They're going to make the spot. Well, for the linesman's coming in, Todd, it's going to be close.
Clearly, he caught the ball at about the 48-yard line, and he really got a gift spot, I thought. I don't know what they're booing about. I thought it was very generous. Rod Woodson does a nice job of hitting him and pushing him backwards.
It was very generous. I think he might miss it, by the way. You can't tell. They're going to have to bring the markers out. It'll be the nose of the ball one way or the other. He just misses it as Coach Cowher looks on. Tom Flores said he felt that his team just had a bad game a week ago, that you can't read too much into it, and he wants them to move on because they played so well in winning at Washington and against the Raiders at Los Angeles. You're not kidding, Todd. They got a great spot, and they get the first down.
Well, this is where he catches the ball and his hands end up. Blades just sits right down. There he is. Now, where does he catch the ball? Clearly, he catches the ball only at about the 48-yard line. Even when he left his feet, he wasn't at first down distance. That was a gift. Largesse for the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, they'll take it, and it's first down and 10 for the Seahawks. Meyer with a play fake, buys himself time. Long ball. Blades is out there. He makes the catch, and he's down to the 5-yard line. Brian Blades and Rick Meyer teaming up on a thing of beauty. The long ball to the 5-yard line.
Big argument about Brian Blades as he had 17 catches coming into this game, but they didn't think he could go deep. And I don't think Rod Woodson anticipated it either. Brian Blades turns him around completely. What a tremendous throw. Right on stride. Darren Perry, the NFL's leading interceptor, could not get there quick enough. Tremendous throw by Rick Meyer.
Right there, it was good for a 45-yard gain. So now, early in this game, the Seahawks are challenging. To the run, this is Fritz Warren, his first run of the day, and the Steelers shut it down after a gain of about 2 yards. The inside backers, led by Chad Brown, were the tacklers for Pittsburgh. And as Rick Meyer told us yesterday, Todd, it's critically important, he felt, for his team to take it down the field and get points, not to take it down the field and destruct near the goal line.
Well, Greg Lloyd, when we talked with him yesterday, mentioned the fact that Chris Warren has an uncanny ability for someone as tall as he is to dip and slide and duck and dodge. And at 6'2", 220, you wouldn't think he'd be that mobile, but he made a nice sidestep there to pick up 2 yards.
The extra tight end in motion. They go to the run, and here is the Steelers. Chris Warren can't keep him out, and Warren takes it in for Seattle as the Steeler defense is opened up for the first touchdown of the game. The big play, the 45-yard throw as the Steeler is down. 45-yard throw from Rick Meyer to Brian Blades. Boy, they split open that defense. The Seahawks feel they have an offensive line that can just pound away with its size and eventually wear you out. Check this again, Todd.
Well, Don, you mentioned earlier on how heavy the line is. Watch the left side of the offensive line. Take a look at the gap that it creates. Good block, lead block there by Johnson, picking off Lloyd, but he really doesn't have any contact until he's over the goal line. Credit Blackshear and Roberts for creating that big hole on the left side and letting Warren score the touchdown.
There's a crowd around the injured Steeler who are trying to identify him. John Casey's on the field now to try the point after. Interesting drive. It looked like the Seahawks were stopped on a 3rd down throw, but the spot was at the 49 of Seattle, and it was good for a first down, and subsequently the 45-yard throw to Brian Blades, and then the touchdown run by Chris Warren, and the Seahawks lead the game 6-0. Steeler was still unable to identify the people around him.
Well, Don, Chris Warren now in his 7th straight game has scored a touchdown. Watch the right side with the people right. Double team on the guard. That's what creates the big gap, and Joel Steed from his nose tackle position does not get over quick enough. Warren scoring the touchdown, but clearly this is the man that had the key play of the game, and I think he got a little bit shook up on that post pattern when he collided with both Perry and Woodson. But if that's the kind of coverage, Don, that he's going to get, my anticipation is that he's going to be back in this game.
So while the injured Steeler is attended to, there's a break in the action here at Husky Stadium.
This is one game.
They even ran out of food.
The fans must be hungry.
I'll tell you about hungry.
When it's gotta be good and it's gotta be now. Pick up the phone, we're gonna knock you out.
Call for a large 2-topping crunchy thin crust pizza and get a medium 1-topping pizza free.
Did you see that?
Rangers, Cherokees, Broncos, Explorers, Pathfinders, Blazers. Any pickup or 4x4, on-road or off. Boy, do we have a tire for you. The tough LTX Light Truck Series from Michelin.
At the Honda factory in Ohio, every Accord is given a bath before it's painted. A zinc phosphate bath. It helps fight rust and corrosion over the life of the car. Now, why do we go to such lengths? That's why.
This is Greg Gumbel in New York. In the Silverdome, Barry Sanders continues to amaze. This is poetry in motion. 39 yards for his second touchdown of the day. He has 107 on the afternoon. The Lions pull closer. They trail New England 20-14. Back to Seattle. Don and Todd.
Thank you, Greg. We're a good report that Chad Brown was shaken up when he walked off for the Steelers. He seems to be all right and should be back. As the point after try now by the left-footed Casey is up, and it's good. So Seattle gets on its opening drive of the game. I think he might have a stinger there. Shoulder jolt. Going in to try to make the tackle on Chris Warren, but the Seahawks with Blades catching 2 passes for 52 yards to set up the score. Go ahead. Here's the big play of that drive now, Todd.
Well, Don, you know, you mentioned the 2 catches, but here it is, the big post pattern down the middle. Weaves him a little bit to the outside, and you can see Woodson looking in the backfield. A lot of times that's a no-no for a cornerback, and he ends up paying for it here. Even though he has flat-out better speed than Blades, Blades gets back to the inside, and Meyer puts it right on the money.
Brian Blades seems to be okay. He's been terrific. Set a Seattle record last season with 80 receptions.
Well, I really think, Don, 2 years ago when they struggled 2-14, people forget in the very first game of the season, Brian Blades breaks his collarbone, and you lose not only your go-to receiver, but back then he was their speed receiver too. I mean, he was everything in terms of their passing game, and I certainly believe that that's one of the reasons why they were as bad as they were in '92.
He's now got 19 passes through less than 3 1/4 games. Here comes Rod Woodson, one of the great kick returners. He's across the 20, and then good special teams coverage gets him. Penalty markers go in. As the carrier, Rod Woodson, is out at the 21-yard line. He's taken down on the play by Terrence Warren.
Dean Wells made the play, though. He got down there so quickly. There was actually a big hole, but he bumps him at about the 17, altering his route, and he was the one that got pushed in the back. Good hustle on the part of Seattle, which has always been great special teams. First coached, of course, by the now defensive coordinator, Rusty Tillman.
During the run back, illegal block, number 53. Half the distance to the goal, 1st and 10.
Reggie Clark, he's one of their best special teams players. Got to do some explaining at this point, though. Right now, the Steelers with a familiar storyline, Todd, behind in the game. All 4 games they played in this season, they've been behind. Foster, who ran for 179 yards last week on his opening carry of this day, gains 13 yards. As we look at the offensive lineup for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Pro Bowler Dermontti Dawson at center. Jackson and Searcy, 2 big tackles. Neil O'Donnell at quarterback. John L. Williams. For his first 8 years, he was a Seattle Seahawk, one of the best pass catchers out of the backfield. Yancey Thigpen comes in on the sub package. The receiver to watch deep, though, is the rookie Charles Johnson, first-year player out of Colorado. They go back to the run. This is John L. Williams. He wanted to have a big game back in Seattle, and he responds with a gain of 5 yards.
Well, John L. Williams, certainly one of the most versatile backs in the NFL.
As we look at the Seahawks defense, Cortez Kennedy 2 years ago was the Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL. And one of the best safeties in football is Eugene Robinson, who's intercepted more passes than any player in the NFL in the decade of the 90s. They're lining Kennedy up wide now, trying to change the blocking assignments. A nice throw by O'Donnell. He gets it to his running back, Rod Barry Foster, who takes it across the 35-yard line out to the 36. Good look off, and then the throw for a first down.
Well, they want to do this a lot. They want to get the ball in the hands of Barry Foster, and when the downfield coverage is good, just dump it to your best runner and see what he can do. A little bit of a shake and bake there, and it's surprising. I don't think many people feel that he can do that. They assume that he's a guy that can just go between the tackles, but he has good outside speed as well.
He really does. He, after a slow start, really had a sensational game last week, and they're going right back to him. Another carry by Foster. This one is shut down by the Seahawks, Cortez Kennedy. One of the concerns, though, when we talked to Bill Cowher yesterday, Todd, was, of course, the fact that Foster's carrying so much. He's carried 62 times over the last 2 games.
Well, that's exactly right. And the thing is, though, that, you know, you got to go to him. I remember a year ago when Emmitt Smith was talking about how can they continue to give you the ball. If you're the coach, you know, it's the now. It's the now that counts. You're not thinking about how well he's going to run in 1997. So you continue to ride that horse.
It can take you a long way. Now he's running an out pattern and downfield throwing. O'Donnell comes in high to his big tight end, Eric Green, as we go back to NFL Live in New York. Greg?
All right, Don, in Los Angeles, the Chargers twice have had 20-point leads on the Raiders, but here comes L.A. Jeff Hostetler, 24 yards to Rocket Ismail, diving catch for the touchdown. The extra point closes the Chargers' lead to 23-17 in the third. Don and Todd.
Okay, Greg, back at Husky Stadium, 9:51 to go in the first quarter. Seahawks with a 7-0 lead. Third down comes up now for the Steelers. They need 8. O'Donnell from the shotgun steps in, throws a beauty to Charles Johnson out to midfield. They needed 8. They got almost 16.
Well, the big concern for the Seattle Seahawks has been their secondary. Injuries last week to both Carlton Gray and Patrick Hunter, their starters. Right away, Neil O'Donnell challenges that. Good protection, and he attacks the side that Carlton Gray is on. Carlton Gray said that he is okay, but clearly he's a little bit gimpy with that ankle, and I think that's something we're going to see a lot more of, getting the ball into number 81's hands, as you mentioned earlier, Don.
And now the Steelers go with two receivers to the right, and they run to the weak side and get the ball in the hands of Barry Foster again. Another 5-yard gain, almost 6.
Well, Eugene Robinson now has become the all-time tackler for the Seattle Seahawks. When you think of some of the great players through the history, Keith Butler, Kenny Easley, Jacob Green, Jeff Bryant, people like this, that's quite an accomplishment for that man who has intercepted more passes over the last 5 years than any other active NFLer.
Now the Steelers with a 2nd down and 5 play call. O'Donnell goes back to the run. Again, it's Barry Foster. And the Steeler offensive front busting open the Seattle defense as Foster's down close to the 35-yard line, tackled by the aforementioned Eugene Robinson.
Misdirection, counter tray, fullback comes from the side and kicks out, and look at the job by the guards and tackles. Leon Searcy does an outstanding job knocking down Mike and creating a big gap for Foster. Don, last week you were in Pittsburgh, and so you watched. Predominantly, a lot of Barry Foster's yards came on that play over the right side. The job by Kalis and Searcy, outstanding.
Now they got Bam Morris in the backfield as O'Donnell play fakes and throws. And Johnson goes high, got a hand on it, but it's incomplete. They really like Bam Morris also, Todd, the rookie runner. They want to get him in the lineup more to spell Foster a little.
Well, they have the deep zone there. Carl Gray just pushes him to the outside. Safety coming over is Blackman. They have that play well diagnosed. You mentioned Bam Morris. I agree with you, Don. I really like the fact that this is somebody who can make a contribution. Foster. Bill Cowher told us yesterday that he is absolutely not afraid to put this man in, both in running and passing situations, because he catches the ball so well.
He's the lone setback, Bam Morris. He gets the ball now. This is the rookie from Texas Tech. And Morris goes bam all the way down to the 20-yard line. There's a lot of Steeler fans here in Seattle.
Well, the surprising thing to me, Don, is why was this man who had so many yards and was supposed to be a Heisman candidate, why did it take to the third round to get him? Did they think he was a little bit chubby? Did they think he wasn't tall enough? 6 feet tall, 235 pounds, 4.55. This is somebody that you've got to like. And you saw right there, great job blocking downfield by his receivers. And clearly, there's a man who could establish himself with or without Barry Foster. He might be a starter in some other clubs.
He probably will be someday. Foster right now is the man, though, and they give him the ball again, and he's down to the 15-yard line on a down carry as the Steelers drive on, trailing in the first quarter, 7-0.
Well, the big concern for any offensive line is number 96, Cortez Kennedy, and what to do with him. But they have the great offensive lineman. Look what Dermontti Dawson does. Pushes him in the chest to help out his left guard, but it wasn't enough. And Kennedy at 3:08 is able to make that kind of pursuit down the line. That's the reason why he's all pro.
On second down, the give is John L. Williams, and he's shut down at about the 14-yard line. That brings up 3rd and 4. Big John Jackson, the left tackle for the Steelers. We were talking to John yesterday about the 500 yards offense the Steelers had against the Colts. He said, well, for the coaches, it wasn't enough. They wanted 600.
And I thought that might be a little reverse psychology. Instead of patting one another on the back and saying, aren't we terrific for getting 500 yards, the coaches brought him back down to earth by mentioning that. But whatever it is they're doing thus far, certainly in this, a 13-play drive, they're doing it right.
O'Donnell takes the drop. He looks into the end zone. He fires down there, and the coverage is...
Now, let me tell you something interesting, Don. If we can get a replay of this, this is the disadvantage of being 6'5", 280. If he's a smaller receiver, take a look to the left of your screen at Eric Green. He's going to hit him before the ball arrives, but because Green is so big, it doesn't look like he got knocked down. It's not going to get called. Look at that. He's all over him. He's got his arm and everything else. But Blackman is the one who falls down, so he does not get the flag.
Now Gary Anderson comes in. He's hit 3 of 4 field goal tries this season. Now he's hit 4 of 5 as the Steelers' long drive culminates in a 31-yard field goal by Gary Anderson. It is now a 7-3 game, Seattle. The Steelers kick off when we come back.
It's 1954 at the University of Milan, and a young man gets a C in mathematics, which causes him to lose his scholarship and take up sidewalk drawing, which spawns a worldwide movement in art that inspires a burgeoning painter, which leads to the opening at the museum that caused the traffic jam that's making you late for work. With all that can go wrong in your day, isn't it nice to know you can depend on your Honda Civic?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Miramax Films asks the question, what do 2 hitmen, 1 girlfriend, a boxer, and the secret suitcase have in common?
That's a good question.
The answer, they're all part of the most electrifying film of the year. John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Harvey Keitel, and Bruce Willis. You won't know the facts until you see the fiction. Pulp Fiction, rated R. Starts October 14th everywhere. Get it.
Debbie, these shots are fabulous. Beautiful, Debbie.
Better than the last time, Tony?
Absolutely. It's my job to make sure people look good. A few weeks ago while doing test shots with Debbie, I noticed something. Dandruff. So I told her about Head & Shoulders. You see, regular shampoos merely rinse flakes away, so they could come back. But look, Head & Shoulders help stop flakes from even forming. You see the difference? Yeah, picture perfect. Head & Shoulders turns dandruff problems into beautiful hair.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by American Honda, who has been making quality automobiles in America for the past 11 years. By Domino's Pizza. Call Domino's now. Buy a large 2-topping crunchy thin crust pizza and we'll give you a medium free. By Mita, maker of reliable copiers and plain paper fax machines. The times demand Mita. And by Gatorade Thirst Quencher. Nothing quenches that deep down body thirst better than Gatorade.
And we're back. Don Criqui with Todd Christensen, Husky Stadium. The late start time for you Steeler fans and Seahawk fans who aren't aware was because of a freshman convocation that was held this afternoon here at Husky Stadium.
Which means that it's interesting that our billion-dollar corporation pays to higher education. I think that says a lot about NBC Sports.
Yeah, the Seahawks are happy to have the field. As Anderson kicks off, he gets off a good one. It carries down to the 5-yard line. On the run is Michael Bates, one of the fastest players in the NFL. But he's not faster than the man who brought him down. Coming down to make the special teams play was Steve Avery, who's been with 5 different NFL teams. Meyer and the Seahawks are set to go when we come back.
Why do more Honda owners come back to Honda? Car after car after car. It could be state-of-the-art engine technology, or extraordinary handling, or maybe it's the feeling that Honda is one car maker that won't let you down.
Garth Brooks' collection, Garth's Favorites, is available now at McDonald's. Each full-length CD is unbelievably priced at just $5.99. Each cassette, $3.99. When you buy any extra value meal or large sandwich, hurry to McDonald's. Going fast.
Today's engines need Castrol GTX, the motor oil that provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown. Because if your oil breaks down, what's next? Castrol GTX, engineered for greater protection against breakdown.
Excuse me, Shelley.
In the NFL, there's only one sports drink, and it's gotta be Gatorade.
If you missed today's NFL Live, you missed Joe Gibbs on the objectives of the prevent defense.
The coach is trying to prevent scores. He doesn't want to give up anything deep. He wants to keep the clock running and tackle all the receivers in bounds.
And Iron Mike's reaction.
I hate the prevent defense.
Next Sunday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific.
Gary Anderson's taken a lot of views for bad kickouts, but this is outstanding. Not only does he kick it deep enough to the floor, but he kicks it to the outside of the numbers, and so as a result, Bates catching it going backwards has no place to go but to the middle of the field, or Avery gets it inside the 20.
Now markers go down as we go to live action. The out pattern thrown to the running back, Chris Warren. The ball is taken back by Darren Perry. He's running with the ball for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the play goes, he's in the end zone, but let's see, now they're going to spot him down on the 1, but there is a penalty marker down. At the line of scrimmage, there are markers down at either. Both linesmen threw in markers, and it signals against the Steelers. So a 29-yard return is needed.
Well, the one thing that Pittsburgh has been very good about is getting turnovers. 3rd in the NFL in turnover differential.
And on the defense, 5 yards, still first down.
That's not normally a mistake that Greg Lloyd makes. Greg Lloyd, Pro Bowl linebacker. Take a look here in the bottom of the screen. He's anxious to get a pass rush, comes up a little bit too quick, and that's one that he's not going to be too terribly happy about, as Darren Perry, as mentioned earlier in the broadcast, leading the NFL in interceptions, picks up the fumble, as mentioned, Don. It don't count.
There's Darren Perry, 4 interceptions. He had 3 against Testaverde in the come-from-behind win at Cleveland. Hand off. Chris Warren straight ahead, and he's to the 28-yard line. Close to a first down, but not quite there. Chris Warren, who's a Pro Bowl runner, he was in the Pro Bowl last February playing with an injured elbow, and it's really troubling him. It could have been one of the reasons for the fumble.
Well, the issue there is that he missed a good half of the game with that elbow problem. Part of the difficulties of both the running and the passing game, a lot of it revolves around number 42. Not only is he a great runner, but they want to get him the ball out of the backfield. You can see right there over the last 2 years, one of only 5 people to get back-to-back 1,000-yard campaigns.
Now on 2nd and short, they go back to the run. This time, the run by Chris Warren is ahead for a first down as he's taken down by Levon Kirkland, who grades out very high in the opinion of the defensive coaches of the Steelers, number 99, Kirkland.
Well, last year they got run over by the Seattle Seahawks, but it was John Vaughn and the team over 260 yards rushing. Clearly, this is something that Seattle wants to do today, and you could tell right there at the end, he fumbles, gets the ball back, but he looked a little ticked on that, Don. He's definitely trying to protect that elbow.
No question. 2 fumbles in the last 3 carries for Chris Warren. Meyer takes a look, dumps it over the middle. On the run is Warren. Look at the Steelers close in. But they close in and get him 13 yards downfield all the way out to the Seattle 45-yard line.
Don, here's the composure of the young quarterback. He wants to look downfield. This is his third receiver. He looks first to his left. Now he's going to come back to his right. Now he has the composure just at the last minute before he gets hit to get the ball to Warren downfield. I don't think that that's a play that he could have made last year because he did not have the knowledge of the offense, having missed so much of training camp. This year, he's much more confident in the offensive scheme that Larry Kinnan wants him to present.
As he hands off to Tracy Johnson, and the Steelers are there to throw it back. Chad Brown back in the game and looking good. That's exactly what he was saying yesterday, Todd, that everything is easier. The reads in games, the practices are easier. Just being around pro football for a full season makes it all so much easier.
Well, I think there's a lot of positions to where training camp means absolutely nothing. Running back for one, defensive back for another. Either you can cover or you can't, or either you can run or you can't. But quarterback, it's absolutely crucial. You have to know the nomenclature not only for yourself, but you have to know what everybody on the field is doing. And no matter how bright it is, that had to be a setback last season.
Yeah, and he missed 3 weeks in a holdout. Downfield throw, what a play. Meyer triggers the ball to Brian Blades down to a 35-yard line.
Certainly everybody is enamored with the speed guys. Those are the guys that seem to accrue the headlines, but Brian Blades is one of those hard-working receivers, not just a possession or a speed guy, but somebody that blocks and is a tough guy. Meyer throws this well before he's out of his break. Blades lays out, secures the ball. Outstanding catch by number 89.
Blades now with 3 catches for 71 yards.
We should also mention a Miami graduate who's one of the few people here in Husky Stadium that wasn't happy with the results yesterday.
Yeah, he was introduced here along with the offense. Thing from Miami, got a big hand. Guess they think well of Miami. Now here's a long ball to the end zone. There's too much on it, and the Steelers pick it off. Darren Perry gets number 5.
Now this will be an interesting call as to whether or not they let it be a touchback or they're going to have it at the 1-yard line. Here we're complimenting Meyer for the great throw that he made earlier, and that was absolutely atrocious.
And they're going to rule he caught it at the 1-yard line, it appears, and then his momentum took it in.
KFC presents the Colonel's Playbook. What play will the Dolphins call on 4th and 5? Should they kick the field goal, try a run by Keith Byers, or a pass by Dan Marino?
Please be advised, you may need a bigger TV to hold all this food. Introducing the new Mega Meal from KFC, the biggest meal deal America has ever seen. A whole Colonel's Rotisserie Gold, or 8 pieces of original recipe chicken. Potato wedges, Kentucky nuggets, mashed potatoes and gravy, coleslaw, biscuits, even a whole pie. All this for just $14.99. You couldn't even get 2 large pizzas for that. No wonder we call it the Mega Meal.
A lot of food, not a lot of money. You can't beat that.
Kick, run, or pass. On 4th and 5, the Dolphins chose a pass from Dan Marino to win their first game in 1994. The winning call from the Colonel's Playbook.
It's 1954 at the University of Milan, and a young man gets a C in mathematics, which causes him to lose his scholarship and take up sidewalk drawing, which spawns a worldwide movement in art that inspires a burgeoning painter, which leads to the opening at the museum that caused the traffic jam that's making you late for work. With all that can go wrong in your day, isn't it nice to know you can depend on your Honda Civic?
Tuesday, Aldi Wings beat Helen's sexy
bad decision on the part of Rick Meyer, but take a look at where Darren Perry actually makes the interception. Certainly he catches the ball and his feet are in the field of play. Now he is in the end zone and he's not going to run, and that is his choice. Now the debate here, Don, would be whether or not you see his reaction, he's not happy with himself, but the debate here is, do they set the ball on the 1-yard line, or is there the possibility that technically it's a safety because he was unwilling to run it out?
Now, that rule change really came about in the game a few years ago when the Jets and the Bengals played at Cincinnati. And the ruling is if an interception is made and the player's momentum takes him into the end zone, the ball is spotted where the interception was made if it was in the field of play. If he'd intercepted the end zone, it would have been a touchback. I think it's the right call. Steelers looking for some room to work, go to the run. And Antonio Edwards, number 69, makes the stop on Barry Foster, who's getting a lot of work early. That was his 6th carry of this game.
Well, this is a pretty big series, Don, for the front seven of Seattle. They had a 76-yard drive, and even though it did culminate in a field goal, the Seahawks got pushed around on that first drive. Rusty Tillman and his defensive cohorts need to reestablish a game plan and take some pressure off of that front seven.
Dwight Stone, number 20, the fastest Steeler, running a deep pattern, and there's Neil O'Donnell firing from the end zone. He gets his tight end, Eric Green. And there is a marker down at the line of scrimmage. Beautiful execution by O'Donnell, running to his left, firing with the right hand. Reception by Green, but it comes back.
Misdirection play off the counter boot. Eric Green wide open, but on the outside, the fullback, I believe, was John L. Williams. We'll have to check.
Here's Red Cashin, who says,
illegal use of the hands, grabbing the face mask. Number 22 on the offense. Half the distance to the goal. Still second down.
Big John Williams. His illegal use of hands negates a big gainer and a first down for the Steelers.
Misdirection. Eric Green comes across. You can see the linebackers are going the other direction. He is completely wide open down the field, but because of John L. Williams grabbing to the outside, the play is negated.
So the Steelers are back in jail. Second down and 10 from their 2-yard line. Foster running hard. The Seahawks were reading him all the way. Kerry Wooden having a big year at outside backer number 90, a Syracuse linebacker, and Joe Nash, the 13-year veteran at left tackle, on the stop. Nash, 72, a free agent from Boston College, went to the Pro Bowl in '84.
Big decision here on the part of the defense of Seattle. Last week against the San Diego Chargers in a similar situation, they blitzed and got burned. Don, they came with 8 guys, hit the post for the touchdown. Yep. Now here on 3rd and 6, there's the man, Rusty Tillman in the sunglasses. What's he going to do here where they have the 4 wide receiver set?
That is indeed correct. They called an all-out blitz last week against the Chargers. This time they go to the run, and the Seahawks submarine it. The all-pro safety, Eugene Robinson, hits the gap.
And Rusty Tillman learned his lesson. That time very conservative, going with the 4-man rush. 7 people in the secondary, and even though they went with a drop play, great job by both Eugene Robinson and Raphael Robinson coming up to make the hits. They go to the safeties. Look at Robinson to the right of your screen. He sees it right away, comes up and nails John L. Williams, short the first down.
Here's the punt, hit downfield by Mark Royals. Kelvin Martin on the run, takes it across midfield and down to the 45-yard line of the Steelers. So again, Todd, Seattle takes over the ball in good field position to start a drive. 47-yard punt and a 9-yard return. And while we have a moment, we remind you that next Sunday, NBC Sports presents more NFL action beginning at 12:30 with NFL Live. Most of you will see Boomer Esiason and the Jets in the dog pound to take on the Cleveland Browns, who won today at Indianapolis. Others will see the Seahawks as they try to contain Marshall Faulk and the Colts. Check your local listings for the game in your area. 1st and 10 for Meyer and the Seahawks, who lead the game 7-3 late in the first quarter. Chris Warren gets some blockers in front. Seahawks do a good job, Todd, pulling those big linemen to get out in front.
Well, of course, in this situation, as you mentioned, Don, with the exception of the second kickoff where they started the 20-yard line, they've had tremendous field position. First of all, they returned the first kickoff to 37. Now they start this drive on the other team's 45. If you're a quarterback, you got to like this.
Flores saying yesterday he wants to be more of a downfield team, much like your old club, the Raiders. He wants more of the deep passing. And, of course, you played for Coach Flores when you guys won Super Bowls.
Well, look towards that end. Take a look at number 81, Michael Bates, to be crucial to the offense throughout the '94 season.
And we'll be back to Husky Stadium after this.
I didn't notice my wife got her hair cut, so she said...
You never noticed anything.
I noticed the cheeseburgers at Burger King have 75% more beef than McDonald's. They come with fries and a drink for only $1.89. So she said, maybe you should go live there.
Burger King. Get your burger's worth.
Napa, we're the most complete source for auto parts, and all Napa parts are backed by a nationwide warranty program. No wonder more Americans trust Napa to keep their vehicles running.
Gotcha! Even if you think you bought a high-tech fax machine, your office may still be in the Stone Age. Only one company uses the latest laser imaging technology in every plain paper fax machine it makes. Mita. To survive in the future, the times demand Mita. Call 1-800-ABC-MITA.
It's time once again to sign up for the 94 Gatorade Punt, Pass, and Kick competition. It's open to boys and girls ages 8 to 15 with local competition held in every NFL city. No charge for participation. Call 1-800-NFL-SNAP.
Back at Husky Stadium, autumn has come to the great Northwest, and the weather's about as good as it can be. Temperature in the 70s as you look out across Lake Washington and on into the home field of the University of Washington, Husky Stadium, where the Seahawks go to the run, and Chris Warren bangs ahead. The Steelers attacking the ball, trying to knock it free. Darren Perry makes the stop, but he makes it down at the 30-yard line, a gain of 10 yards on the play.
We mentioned earlier, watch 6'2", 220. Watch the shuffle right here. He sees it, closes up, bounces behind the block of Steve Smith, cuts into the secondary. That's some very nimble feet for somebody, as we mentioned earlier, running a little bit tentatively, but now feeling a little more confidence, it appears, in his elbow.
He actually has a bone chip in that left elbow. Went out last week, but he's back and going hard today. He give him the ball again. Warren holding the ball with his right arm, takes it down inside the 25-yard line. Down to the 23. A first down carry is good for 8 as we go to New York and to Greg Gumbel. Greg?
All right, down earlier today in Miami's loss at Minnesota. Miami running back Terry Kirby, number 43, bent backwards by the defense. Looks bad. How bad? Don Shula says ligament damage to the knee. It looks like he's out for the year. Bad news for the Miami Dolphins, Don.
Boy, that's a tough one. That's a terrific young player, Terry Kirby. Dolphins continuing problems with injuries every year, it seems, as Warren runs hard on second and short, and it looks like he's close to a first down. Tackled on the play by Gerald Williams, 98 lead tackler.
You know, the other thing that's difficult about that, Don, with regards to the fact not only is Terry Kirby a great receiver last year, 75 balls to lead all NFL running backs out of the backfield. Last week he had 15 carries for 100 yards, really started to get the running game going again for Miami, and they're getting a little bit of balance. Now it looks like they might have to go to a guy that they were originally going to cut in the preseason. Look for Mark Higgs now to step up and have to contribute to the rushing attack for the Dolphins.
A year ago, the Dolphins, a lot of people forget, had the best record in the NFL at Thanksgiving. Then those injuries, they went into a tailspin and didn't make the playoffs. This time, Steve Smith, the big fullback from Penn State, a former Raider, crashes inside the 20-yard line and down to the 18. And a Steeler is down. Kevin Green, the outside linebacker, looked like he was knocked out on the play. He's having a terrific year. The big pass rusher from Auburn, a former Ram.
5 years ago, he had 16 sacks. He felt that was his coming out season. That's his major contribution, but he also plays the run fairly well. Take a look at the ISO now. He comes down. See what happens. He gets hit right in the back, right in the kidney, it looks like. He might have a hip pointer. We'll see when we return here. Ball at the 18 for the Seahawks.
Sunday. It's the day the world takes a breather or gets a chance to catch up. It's our Sunday best and long Sunday drives. There's one truck designed for a day like today, Ford F-Series. With the safety of a standard airbag and rear anti-lock brakes, a spacious interior, and the kind of toughness that never takes a day off. More reasons why Ford F-Series is the best-selling truck 17 years running, and that's a lot of Sundays.
A few weeks ago, while doing some test shots with Debbie, I noticed something. Dandruff. So I told her about Head & Shoulders. Unlike regular shampoos, Head & Shoulders help stop flakes from even forming. You see the difference? Head & Shoulders turns dandruff problems into beautiful hair.
Your own minor league baseball team.
roughly $1 million. The Big Shaver, roughly 18 cents. What do they have in common? They're both worth every penny.
This is one long game.
They even ran out of food.
The fans must be hungry.
I'll tell you about hungry.
When it's gotta be good and it's gotta be now. Pick up the phone, we're gonna knock you out.
Call for a large 2-topping crunchy thin crust pizza and get a medium 1-topping pizza free.
Did you see that?
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Domino's Pizza. Call Domino's now. Buy a large 2-topping crunchy thin crust pizza and we'll give you a medium pizza free.
Kevin Green of the Steelers shaken up on the last play. Good to see Big Kevin is up and looks like he'll be back.
Take a look at the right knee of Steve Smith. It's going to come up. I originally thought it was a hip pointer, but now watch as he's running. Watch the right knee. Pow! Hits him right in the head, and I think you called it right, Don. I think he was a little bit dinged.
Two Steeler linebackers have gone off the field early in this game. Chad Brown was shaken up earlier, but he's back in all right. But the Steeler defense, and it's the best right now, being challenged as Seattle is powering the ball right at Pittsburgh.
And that man they have to have, particularly in passing situations. He's the one legitimate pass rusher they have on this ball club, Don, and if he's out, that's going to give Meyer a lot of time in the pocket when they have to throw.
Hulk Hogan lookalike, Kevin Green. Meyer on first down, they give him time, pick up the blitz. Terrell Edmonds, the former Dolphin, he coughs it up, but fortunately for him and the Seahawks, it's out of bounds at the 5-yard line. Edmonds swinging that arm pretty free with the ball in it.
Well, he can't fumble the ball forward, so it's going to come back to where he set down. Tree is his nickname, former Pro Bowler for the Miami Dolphins. Not the pass catcher he once was, and Rod Woodson thought he could knock him out, but that didn't happen at all. What he did do here at the end, actually it's Chad Brown who hits him hard enough to knock the ball out of bounds.
That brings up 2nd down and 3, ball at the 12-yard line in the second quarter. Seahawks with a 7-3 lead go back to the run. Chris Warren takes it down to the 6. Looked like he might break it. Brown got him, then Kirkland finished it.
You know what, Don? Last night when we were eating dinner, we were talking about Dwayne Thomas. The stride of Chris Warren reminds me a lot of Dwayne Thomas. Dwayne Thomas, a running back who was 6'1", 220 pounds. He was what they refer to as a glider. And those that don't know it, Chris Warren's nickname is Old Smooth, and that's how he runs. It doesn't look like he's powerful or with the big knees coming up or churning, but he's difficult to tackle. He must have broken at least a half dozen tackles so far in this ballgame.
That's Warren in motion now up at the top of your screen as Rick Meyer takes a look in the end zone. He's running out of time. Meyer very mobile, puts his head down. He'll be short of the 5-yard line, coming on a 1st and goal play from the 2nd. 7. Now 2nd and goal from there. Chad Brown made the tackle. Meyer very strong. He can take the hits.
Brian Blades is open in the back of the end zone, but of course this is difficult for him to see because he gets pushed out. Right now, he's scrambling. Blades thought he should have had the ball, but it's very easy when you're a receiver, and I say that from experience, to run back and say, I was open, and the quarterback says, yeah, but you didn't have 4 defenders in your face.
Yeah, he had at least that. Steelers putting a lot of rush on. Here's Warren again. Steelers shutting down the run. That's going to bring up 3rd down and goal. Talking about Meyer's strength, he has all the weightlifting records for quarterbacks at Notre Dame. And that helped him last season when he was sacked more than any quarterback in the NFL, as Cowher checks his defensive signal alignment. Meyer sacked 47 times in his rookie season.
Larry Kennan, former offensive coordinator, of course, he worked in the same position here with Tom Flores with the Raiders, and of course head coach of the London Monarchs, who in his 1 year as head coach did win that World Football League. Interesting to see what he's going to call here.
Straight drop. Here's the throw. It's in the end zone. Are they going to? Now a penalty marker comes in. If it's a defensive penalty and it's no touchdown, it would be a 1st down for Seattle. Paul Green, one of the tight ends, made the catch.
But Paul Green's the one that pushed off.
Okay, so it's not against the Steelers.
Number 87, Paul Green, is their pass-catching tight end, and he's the one that comes in to do this.
Game clock.
Pass interference. Number 87 on the offense. 10 yards, still 3rd down.
10 10:10 to play in the first half. 7-3 Seattle.
Watch the right of your screen. He comes off the ball, number 87. Now he runs right into him, just spins around and gets open. I don't like that call at all. That's the sort of incidental contact that happens all the time in the National Football League. And if he had just put his arms out or pushed him, I would have bought that call. But in that case, I don't like it at all. Greg Lloyd got a gift there, as did the Steelers.
And that makes it 3rd down and goal from the 13 of Pittsburgh. Myers stands in against the blitz. He throws to the end zone, and it's almost picked off by Tim McKyer. He was shooting for Kelvin Martin, a former Cowboy. McKyer throws his hat away, but he did break up the play, and now a field goal try for the Seahawks.
Really pretty melodramatic there by Tim McKyer, now with his 5th team. Somebody known as somebody who runs his mouth in the past, but he was a former Pro Bowler with the San Francisco 49ers. He anticipates the slant very well. Right there now he comes back in, cuts in front, it hits him right in the chest, and he has reason to be disgusted with himself.
A 31-yard field goal attempt. John Casey, who's having a real good year kicking it, has not missed yet. 11 for 11 extra points. He is now 3 for 3 on field goals for the season. And the Seahawks extend their lead to 10-3. We'll come back for the Seattle kickoff after this.
My father used to say that he started Gramercy Press so that the written word would always have a home. And that mission hasn't changed. But it's 1994, and the era of Charles Dickens is over. We use computers, and we still mail manuscripts around the world. Marta still has 12 stacks of reference books on her desk for fact-checking. Curtis still prints a catalog every quarter and drops them in the mailbox. And our most advanced form of communication is Darlene's lovely little message slips. We've been talking to MCI, and this is not about the phone bill, but we're going to make some changes. Not in our ideals, but in the tools that we use.
Everybody had an opinion.
I think it's a great idea. We are finally waking up.
Everything I need at the push of a button, I'd like to see that.
What's wrong with Charles Dickens?
It's appropriate. Art is constant. Tools change.
Digital technology is the future, whether you're selling books or bagels.
We'll talk.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by the totally new Ford Contour, a world car for the 21st century. By Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. By Network MCI Business, install it in your office today. And by Tostitos brand restaurant-style tortilla chips.
Tim McKyer, not a very happy man, very demonstrative over the opportunity he had to catch an interception. His 5th team, as I mentioned earlier, starting with the San Francisco 49ers, then Miami, Atlanta, and the Detroit Lions.
Bill Cowher, though, says he's been a tremendous addition on the field and in the locker room. He really thinks he's been an integral part of the Steelers' defense. And now Rod Woodson held to a 16-yard return on his first kickoff. Is held to less than that on the second kickoff return. Good special teams coverage by the Seahawks. The NFL's got plenty of cool customers, but none cooler than the Iceman, who was found frozen for 1,000 years. Is he a hoax or the missing link? Find out on Unsolved Mysteries tonight, beginning at 7 Eastern, 6 Central on NBC.
Isn't that the life? That's the life story of George Gervin, right? Isn't he the Iceman?
This Iceman was doing his stuff in the Alps.
Oh, okay. My mistake. I thought he was the Iceman.
Only he knew he was going to be this famous, right?
That's right. He'd still be playing.
Neil O'Donnell looks time out. Now he throws it away. He was trying to get a screen set up to the left side, and the Seahawks had it defensed all the way. They were really ready. The Tez will break things up for you.
Well, that or he'll draw 3 people. Take a look at all 3 people there with the Tez. But it didn't matter. The secondary did a good job of picking that out, and that forced O'Donnell to throw it downfield. But that's the very thing that Kennedy attracts. Very rarely do you see him in a situation where he's man for man.
Says he's stronger this year. Tez says, I feel powerful. He's been in the weight room. Doesn't look fast, but he's very quick. And again, he takes the double team on. And again, the Seahawk defense responds well to the Steeler run. The Steelers ran the ball so well on their first possession. And now Seattle seems to have sorted out the blocking and is knocking down the ball carriers for short gain.
Well, I think one of the things that they want to do clearly is they don't want Barry Foster to defeat them. They want to see if O'Donnell can do it. And O'Donnell has not been the focal point, which sounds strange when you talk about a quarterback in the offense, but really they're very dependent upon Barry Foster. They want to see if O'Donnell can get hot, hit 5 or 6 completions, and beat them down the field, something that clearly this season he's yet to do.
Well, the pressure's on O'Donnell now on 3rd down and 8 from his own end. He stands in, fires an out pattern, and the ball is separated from Yancey Thigpen on a big strike by Orlando Waters, a rookie free agent who's starting at cornerback today for the injured Patrick Hunter.
Last week when Patrick Hunter got hurt, Waters came in and Stan Humphries was all over him, hit him 4 straight completions on the one side. Waters right here does a nice job of separating Thigpen rather, from the ball. Good hit by number 31. There you see the injured one, Patrick Hunter, outstanding cornerback. Big loss for the Seahawks, but Waters is playing fairly well.
Here's Kelvin Martin running back the punt by Royals, and he gets it out to the 47 or 8 yard line. So again, Seattle gets the ball in very good field position with 8 minutes and 38 seconds to play in the first half. The Seahawks leading on the touchdown and the field goal.
Boy, first facts. What do you make of that?
Was gibt es hier?
With CD-ROM, Message Center, integrated television, and speakerphone, the compact Presario is powerful enough to run a small business.
Hello?
Hi, Adam. It's Mom. Where's Dad?
He's watching TV.
And simple enough to expand a child's horizons.
What are you doing?
Running to facts.
Oh, really?
Introducing Ford Contour. Gold, a world car for the 21st century. Example, the advanced quadrillink rear suspension. It was designed to allow rear wheels to adjust in sync with the front, giving Contour precise control in cornering and braking. Then it was put through 2 million miles of rigorous testing just to make sure. The totally new Ford Contour, a world car for the 21st century.
If you don't replace your air and oil filters regularly, you might as well drive your car off a cliff, because dirt can really mess up an engine. Fram Extra Life air filters and Fram Extra Guard oil filters keep out dirt best to protect your engine. Fram, America's #1 premium brand. Pay a little now or a lot later. Get a $2 rebate on Fram air filters at participating retailers.
Next Sunday, there's more great NFL action on NBC. Boomer Esiason and the high-flying Jets take on the Cleveland Browns, or the Buffalo Bills battle the Chicago Bears, or Rick Meyer returns to Indy as the Seahawks face the Colts. The NFL on NBC.
Love to stay. Gotta run.
Outside linebacker Kevin Green back in the lineup. He was shaken up making a tackle earlier. Steeler defense has been out there a lot. Meyer of the Seahawks throws the out pattern, makes the connection. The tackling is sure on the far side by Deon Figures. Out of the Colorado connection on the Steeler team, 4 starters from the University of Colorado.
A lot of pressure on Deon Figures, too, replacing the starter DJ Johnson, who left for Atlanta. I remember when he was in college, I had a bowl game with him in the Fiesta Bowl, and Colorado played Syracuse, and I was talking with him about it. He says, listen, next year, my team, he says my nickname is going to be Beyond 7 Figures.
That's right. And it was. He signed a big contract last year. Warren runs the ball, and he's ahead on 2nd down and 4. He's very close to us. Seattle first down.
Well, this is the very thing that the Pittsburgh Steelers wanted to avoid. Last year they came to Seattle, as we mentioned, just got absolutely hammered in the running game. They felt like they were very prepared coming into this contest, but thus far it hasn't proven out on the field. Seattle is running the ball extremely well.
Last year, the Steelers set to go to the playoffs. Played here against Seattle, and the Seahawks rushed through the Steeler defense for 267 yards, as you were mentioning, Todd. 131 by John Vaughn of Seattle, who's out today. He was hurt last week. See, the Seahawks just shy of the first down, inches.
John Vaughn got poked in the eye last week very severely on a 20-yard loss when they had a chance down near the 1-yard line. Got poked enough to where he's out of the game, as you mentioned. Once led the AFC in kickoff returns, now the backup to Chris Warren.
In the game, number 35, Steve Smith, the former Raider, as Chris Warren comes out. 3rd and short. They went to Smith the last time on a short yardage play.
This is a personal thing, Don, but I hate it when you get a situation where you got a crucial play like this and you get the ball and a guy whose hands are cold, who's been on the sidelines for a long time, isn't with the rhythm of the game.
He just came in, and he does get the ball. He powers ahead, but was there offside against the Seattle Seahawks? Robinson, an inside linebacker, made the stop. 2 penalty markers are down. And so the Seahawks get a first down.
Here's the other thing with regards to Steve Smith.
Offside, middle of the line of the defense, 5 yards, first down.
Clearly jumping off sides there. Bill Cowher not too happy with that. The mental lapses on the part of his defense he isn't very happy about. Bill Cowher, of course, is steeped in defense. He was a defensive coordinator. And talking with coaches around the league with regards to Pittsburgh, they tell me that this is a team that surely should come up with a great game plan. They have 3 defensive coordinators, Bill Cowher, Don Capers, and, of course, Dick LeBeau, a former defensive coordinator. He said they can put together a great game plan.
Meyer triggers the fastball, far flank, and Kelvin Martin makes a turn on the ball that came in on the wrong side, and it's down to the 30-yard line of Pittsburgh. And the Steelers were looking to control this game with their running offense, but their defense has been out there all game. John Vaughn, who had 131 yards, a career game last December against the Steelers.
It's an interesting hat. I haven't seen that logo before. It's unique. Must be a players-only hat.
Meyer stands in. Meyer living dangerously as he slams both hands to his helmet. What am I doing, says Meyer.
Well, not that. I think what he's disgusted about, that was a very catchable ball. He got exactly what he wanted, man-for-man coverage. Kelvin Martin on the deep in route, arguably the most difficult to cover for a corner because he has to run completely across the field. Gets good protection, fires it in there. Come on, catch. He's saying, come on, catch the ball. Catch the ball is what he's saying. Look at that coming across the field. Ball's right there. You got to catch that ball.
It went to his hands. It almost was in the Steelers. Now it is 3rd down and a yard. Steve Smith is the up back. The pitch back. Warren turns it up, turns it in. He's inside the 10. He might take it in. He's down to the 5-yard line. And a face mask call against the Steelers. Levon Kirkland trying to save the touchdown, grabbed Chris Martin by the face mask. That'll be half the distance to the goal, which in this case Todd's about a foot closer.
Don, I'm sure that you feel the same way I do. I am becoming more and more impressed with this man right here. Again, he doesn't have the flashiness of the Barry Sanders. He doesn't have the speed of a Marshall Faulk. He doesn't have the power of a Jerome Bettis, but he has a unique combination of all 3. And I keep thinking that he looks so much like Dwayne Thomas in his ability to slide off of tacklers.
First down.
Everybody's steeped here. He makes the cut to the outside. Now watch how he breaks through the tacklers. It's not with a big stiff arm right there. He just keeps his feet moving. At 6'2", 220 pounds there right at the end. Of course, you see the face mask. But I'm more and more impressed with Chris Warren. And he, if he continues to do this, certainly is going to take his place amongst the elite runners in the National Football League.
Well, as you said, he's a glider at smooth stride, and he takes it through. Now Meyer looks at an open man. There for the touchdown. It's Trey Junkin, who doesn't get many thrown to him. He's in usually the long snap. The 3rd tight end.
Oh, my boy Trey Junkin.
Former Raider.
He was a backup of mine for 5 years, and he told me that if he scored a touchdown, that he was going to make a point. He was supposed to have some sort of end zone dance. Now, he can't celebrate too much because he's the snapper for extra points here, Don. So if he starts messing around too much, he's going to get himself in trouble.
So Bill Cowher sees his Steelers fall behind, but he sees that every week. And trust me when I tell you, they can come roaring back. They were down 14-0 last week to the Colts, came back to dominate the game, won 31-21. They were down 10-0 at Cleveland the week before that, came back to win. Now it'll be the Steelers' chance to go on offense when we come back.
Liberty Mutual presents Legends of the Game. He played with the raw power of a natural cataclysm and a seemingly inexhaustible supply of malice. A fearsome hitter, he was a monster of the Midway and a member of the 1960s Team of the Decade. Who was this legend?
Oh, come on. No.
Great. The issue is auto theft. It's out of control. Liberty Mutual is the first insurer to give police tracking devices that get stolen cars back 95% of the time. And these devices also help catch the thieves. So you both get what you deserve. Liberty Mutual, facing the issues that face our customers.
Doug Atkins' physique made him a giant, but it was his singleness of purpose which made him a true legend of the game.
This is a bucket of water, and this is the new Goodyear Eagle AquaTread for performance cars. A wide performance tire with twin aqua channels to sweep water away for outstanding wet traction. New Eagle AquaTread, only from Goodyear.
It still bugs me that I waited to try Old Spice High Endurance just because I thought all deodorants worked the same. Dumb. This proves it's the best. Try it. If you don't think it's the best, call 1-800-PROVE-IT and they'll buy you a stick of yours. Take the High Endurance Challenge from Old Spice. I did.
Left of your screen, watch Trey Junkin, your left tight end. Fakes the block, cuts to the outside. There's absolutely nothing there, and the reason for that is the play-action fake. Chris Warren has been having so much success that the play-action is going to screw everybody up. He comes over to offensive coordinator Larry Kidd. Hey, man, thanks for the gift touchdown. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so very much, says Trey Junkin. It's been a while since he's been in the end zone with the ball. And now the Seahawks have extended their lead to 17-3 with 6:20 to go in the first half. Are ready to take it back. Some guys, touchdowns are almost a career thing, aren't they?
I'm telling you, look at that. He's milking it for all it's worth. Enough already. Okay, you scored. Come on.
Here is the kickoff by Casey downfield.
Charles Johnson on the return here.
Across the 25 and out to the 30. And the Steelers will go back on offense. Don Criqui with Todd Christensen, a continuing scenario for the Steelers. Week 1, blown out early by the Dallas Cowboys. Week 2, it looked like they would be at Cleveland. Came back and won, and again last week against the Colts. Can they come back in this one?
Well, they certainly can, but the big difference this time, Don, I think, is the effectiveness with which Seattle is running the football. They have to stop Chris Warren, and thus far they haven't even been close to doing that. And as well as Meyer is throwing the ball offensively, Seattle is much more powerful, at least at this point of the season, either the Colts or the Browns.
Seattle's a good-looking football team. This is the first time I've seen them live this year. You watch them on tape, but they really hope that their offensive line could match up and control the ball. They've done that. And more, as you were pointing out, Todd, and very aptly, the Seattle Seahawks want to force O'Donnell to have to win this game, and it's getting that way now, down 17-3. He does go to the run, and Foster crashes out across the 25. But O'Donnell's going to have to throw more and more.
Trey Junkin once again, and not only goes up to the offensive coordinator, he comes up to the quarterback and explains how he got open. All right, give it a rest. Don't you remember, wasn't it Paul Brown that said, next time you score a touchdown, act like you've been there before?
They said that to Trumpy. Trumpy scored a long pass as a rookie, went wild on the sidelines. Paul Brown came up and said, Trumpy, if you ever score again in this league, act like you've been there. O'Donnell guns the ball out. There was nothing open. Good coverage by Seattle. Trey Junkin from Louisiana Tech in his 12th year, special teams co-captain of the Seattle Seahawks. Last 4 seasons, he's been nothing but a deep snapper.
Well, that's something that you absolutely have to have anymore. You know, in the old days, Don, you'd have guys that were playing positions. I think that with the exception, possibly, I'd have to think about it, but other than Bruce Matthews for the Houston Oilers, I think that most of the long snappers now in the league are specialists.
For him to catch 4 passes in a season is a big year. Beautifully done by the Steelers. John L. Williams approaching 500 career receptions.
And coming out of the
backfield. Excuse me, Todd.
That's fine, Don. Coming into this game, he was the leading receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers with 10. And as you mentioned, he very much wants to make his mark here. He was the one that last week against the Indianapolis Colts in the huddle said, hey, look, we're down 14 points. Not that big a deal. Let's stay with what we've been doing. Let's stay with it. He provides some very subtle leadership for the Steelers. And once again, they find themselves in a similar situation, down 14.
Back to Barry Foster. And Rod Stevens, number 94, middle linebacker, comes over to make the stop.
Bill Cowher is a big, big fan of John L. Williams. This is what he has to say with regards to him. One of those guys you like to have on your side the heat of the battle. He's smart and understands things. He's a gamer. I think that's about as high a praise as he can get. And he says when he comes to game day, this guy shows up, and I'm glad he's here. John L. Williams contributes in all 3 facets of the game, running, blocking, and catching the ball out of the backfield.
Merrill Hodge went to the Bears as a free agent. The Steelers signed John L. And now O'Donnell on second down. Looks deep downfield. He has an open man. And on the run. All the way down is Ernie Mills inside the 25-yard line before Robert Black and Eugene Robinson taken down. As Mills, 89, who can play any of the 3 wide receiver spots, X, Y, or Z.
Carlton Gray makes a terrible decision here. Watch him cut in front of the ball, and he's not in position to bat the ball down. Comes way too late, and as a result, Mills able to get the extra yardage.
This would be a big scoring drive if the Steelers can effect one. Mills getting a look now in single coverage. Double tight end. They're going to go to the run. And Foster, looking for somewhere to go, does well to get the ball to the 23-yard line. Stopped by Brent Williams. Now we go back to NFL Live. Here's Greg.
All right, Don, in Los Angeles, this one went down to the final seconds. John Carney, 33-yard field goal is perfect, and so are the Chargers. They're 4-0 after their 26-24 win over the Raiders. Chargers are 4-0 for the first time since 1980, Don.
Wow, what an ending, huh? They were out of the game. The Raiders came back and took the lead. And the Chargers now, as Greg mentioned, a 4-0 team. That's a perfect season end of the day for Kansas City. Here's a wide-open interception. Rufus Porter, he's one of the fastest linebackers in football, and he has a great big missile dive all the way out to the 50-yard line. O'Donnell with an ill-advised throw, and Rufus Porter waiting.
O'Donnell knows it, too. You can see his disgust. They went with the misdirection play, Don, that earlier had been successful to Eric Green, but they read it this time, and they had Eric Green covered. So instead of just throwing it downfield, he decides to throw across his body, and he pays for it. Watch in the middle of your screen, number 86 is going to come, and Rod Stevens picks him up. There you saw in the middle. Now he throws it across his body. There's nobody there but Rufus Porter. He thought he was going to surprise him and catch Barry Foster, but instead, they're right on top of it. Absolutely a terrible decision on the part of Neil O'Donnell, and a crucial point for Pittsburgh because of the fact that they had some momentum going in for a score.
Yes, they did. They were moving the ball well, and now the Seahawks go to the run, and Rick Meyer could feel for his counterpart O'Donnell because Meyer made a throw very similar to that last week, ill-advised, across the field. It was picked off by Stanley Richard of San Diego and run back 73 yards for a touchdown.
And Rufus Porter, first interception of the season. Dan Marino got all the kudos for coming back from his Achilles tendon injury, but Rufus Porter had a similar situation. And the reason that I think it's just as significant, if not more so, for Rufus Porter, even though he doesn't have the notoriety of Dan Marino, his game is required to have the requisite speed and quickness. And as a result, great job of coming back for him.
Myers sacked back at the 48-yard line. Kevin Green with his 3rd sack of the season. He leads the Steelers.
Well, evidently he wasn't dinged too badly. Kevin Green comes right back in. That's a curious call there, 2nd and 6, because they've been running so effectively. Howard House Fowler was brought in for this very reason, to take on the great pass rushers. He lets him go, thinking maybe that Green is too far away, but Kevin Green showing that even though he's on the north side of 30, he can still accelerate.
And that sets the ball back to the 49-yard line of Seattle. Just the 6th sack of the season for the Steeler defense, but they're one of the NFL leaders in quarterback pressures.
you trust in the wet? A tire that removes over 2 gallons of water per second from under the tread. The all-season MX4. Another engineering splash from Michelin. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Marino flips it to the halfback.
There are 2 ways to make it to the NFL.
Follows Barry Sanders into the hole.
One way is to dream.
Blows past Richard Dent.
Hope you can run the 40 in 4.3. And learn how to fly. Or just bet the NFL's best they can't eat one Lay's potato chip and make them come play with you.
Ready to pay up?
After all, no one in football can win that bet.
Hey, who'd you expect? Troy Aikman?
Lay's. Bet you can't eat just one.
This is $20,000. This is also $20,000. You'd take care of this, wouldn't you? You should take care of your car just as carefully, which is why you should bring your car to Jiffy Lube and ask for Pennzoil. Your car is worth thousands of dollars. Give it the quality of Pennzoil and the experience of Jiffy Lube.
We got experience at Jiffy Lube.
Jiffy Lube, America's favorite oil change.
Next Saturday, Bill Walsh and Stanford take on Lou Holtz, Ron Paulus, and the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Next Saturday, Notre Dame football is home on NBC.
Flood formation now for Seattle. Extra wide receivers in the game on 3rd down and 12. Meyer with a deep drop. They pick up the blitz. Open man, and he's got him. Brian Blades comes back at the ball, and he's down to the 25-yard line. 26-yard gain on the play on 3rd and 12, and Meyer wants a timeout.
Well, the play before, Kevin Green sacks Rick Meyer. He lands on his arm right there, and it looks like he's in a little bit of pain. You can see he actually grabs his arm right there, a little bit concerned as to whether or not he's going to be able to continue, but evidently he could. And you saw on that last throw, he was looking pretty good, able to shake off the injury. Watch to the right of your screen. Rod Woodson gets juked on the fake just to the outside there, completely behind Brian Bays. A little out and up move to the middle of the field to the post. Woodson not having one of his better days.
26-yard gain. Well, if he's grabbing an arm, Todd, it's the right one. His left one, not the one he throws with. Meyer having a nice day. 9 of 13 for 133, a touchdown and interception. And now back to New York. Greg?
All right, down at San Francisco, Jim Everett was picked off twice today by the 49ers. None more dramatic than this, with the Saints trying to come from behind, down 4. Deion Sanders, 74 of the fastest yards of the day. Not a bad free agent acquisition. The 49ers win 24-13. Don and Todd, back to you.
And we're back at Husky Stadium. First down for the Seahawks, who right now have command of the game and are driving again. All of a sudden, Chad Brown puts the brakes on hard on Rick Meyer. He comes to a screeching halt back at the 35-yard line. Another sack for the Steeler defense.
Poor job of anticipation. Take a look at Meyer. If he runs to his right, he's okay, but instead he runs right into Brown. Brown being double-teamed. If he can stay in the pocket, and again, that's the composure of the young quarterback, Don. Realizing your situation, the time on the clock. Now he dangerously took them out of field goal position.
Here's a handoff, and Chris Warren takes it down to the 32-yard line as the game clock winds down, as you see, to 1:20 to play in the first half. Our producer today for NBC Sports is Bill Bonnell. Our director, Bucky Gunts. Executive producer, Tommy Roy. And coordinating producer, John Ferratzis, as the ball is down to the 31-yard line, and that brings up, Todd, 3rd and 15. What do you look for?
Well, one thing I'd like to see here is either a screen pass or a quarterback draw. Clearly Pittsburgh is going to be in a situation where they go with their dime, but they're not going to give up any big plays. But right there, you're looking at a 48, 49-yard field goal, certainly makeable by Casey. But I think they want to knock off another 5 or 6 yards and keep the clock running, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a draw play here. 55 seconds left.
Yeah, the Seahawks still have 2 timeouts left. Coming up at halftime, Greg Gumbel and Mike Ditka with the Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report. Mike Ditka, one of 2 people in NFL history who have won a Super Bowl ring as a player, as an assistant coach, and as a head coach.
And that man right there is the other one.
That's it.
Tom Flores.
Tom Flores did the same.
Tom Flory's cut by the Buffalo Bills, picked up by the Kansas City Chiefs in the 1969 season, and that's where he picked up his Super Bowl as a player. And, of course, he was an assistant coach for the then Oakland Raiders when they won in 1976 against the Minnesota Vikings, and, of course, the head coach in 80 and 83 when the Raiders defeated both Philadelphia and the Redskins in Super Bowls 15 and 18.
How well you remember, right?
Oh, well, just off the top of my head.
You don't wear the rings, though.
Don't want to lose them in motel rooms, Don.
Here's Meyer dropping back, throws the out pattern. Boy, this kid goes up and comes down with the ball. Kelvin Martin, Blades and Martin, both skywalkers when it comes to going up and coming down with it.
Now, this might seem like a small thing, but not only does this knock off the yardage, but this is going to put the ball on the right hash. What's the big deal about the right hash, you say? Well, Casey is a left-footed kicker, and because soccer-style kickers have a natural hook, most soccer-style kickers prefer the hash opposite of what foot they are because that natural hook can bring the ball back in between the uprights.
Now we'll see what Casey does now, the left footer. And a very effective kicker out of the University of Georgia. This is a 40-yard attempt. He's got plenty into it. He's right down the line. So John Casey has yet to miss this season. He kicked 3 field goals in Seattle's win over Pittsburgh last December. He's hit 2 today, as the Seahawks have now extended their lead to 20-3. Not expected, and just 46 seconds to play in the half. Remember that the comedies that the critics and audiences love, Wings and Frasier, have moved to Tuesday. That's Wings at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, and Frasier at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, this Tuesday on NBC. And a reminder, the Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report coming up today. San Diego in the closing seconds at the Los Angeles Coliseum, hitting the field goal to stay unbeaten, 4-0.
I think people have to be surprised with that. That's got to be the biggest surprise in the NFL. In fact, a lot of people picked them for last in the AFC West. Neil O'Donnell now.
The whole world seemed to like the Raiders before the season.
Yeah, and now they're 1-3. Who knew?
And a lot of people like Denver, and they're 0-3. Looking at 0-4, they play at Buffalo next.
Yeah, that's not where you want to start a winning streak.
Neil O'Donnell will have 46 seconds to start gunning the ball downfield. They've got the big back, Bam Morris, down there to return the kickoff.
Well, they didn't like what Woodson did with his first 2 kicks. He couldn't get it past the 20-yard line, and this return is crucial because with 40-odd seconds left, the big issue here is going to be what kind of field position they get as to whether or not they can get in field goal range.
There's Bam Morris.
This is a credit, as I mentioned earlier, to his speed. You know, a 6', 235-pound running back. You'd think this isn't the guy you want returning kicks, but clearly they believe that he can get it up the field or they wouldn't have him back there.
Out of Texas Tech, John Casey with the ball teed up at his 30. Moves into it. Gets it well downfield, and Bam Morris heads at the Seattle coverage. He's across the 20. Bam's not done. He's on the way. He's across the 40. As they finally get him and run him down. Bam Morris finally taken down by Robert Blackman all the way out of the 48-yard line of Seattle.
And Don, he did a great deal of this on his own. Take a look at the blocking. The very first block, terrible block. Gets right past it there. He runs right through Terrence Warren. Now look, the blocking's nothing special. There's another tackle that he avoids. Raphael Robinson pursuing him as well as Blackman. Look at the stiff arm, and he gets it to midfield. Great effort on the part of Bam Morris. What a find for Bill Cowher and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
But they need a lot of big plays now to get back in this one. Seattle leading 20-3. 4 wide receivers set. Neil O'Donnell ready to trigger it from the shotgun. The rush is on. He makes the throw and a connection to Eric Green, his big tight end. The biggest tight end is over 280 pounds. Eric with the gamble, Todd. In the offseason, the Steelers offered him a 4-year, $8 million contract, $2 million a year. He turned it down, signed 1 year for $1.4 million, presuming he's going to be the most wanted free agent after this season.
Well, and well, he should have been. I really felt like that despite the fact that Shannon Sharp caught all those balls, 81 catches, and certainly deserved to be in the Pro Bowl, I felt that Eric Green, number 86 for the Steelers, was the best tight end in football and certainly deserved the numbers that they were talking about. Now, of course, he signs the 1-year deal.
And, of course, Pittsburgh has the option of making him the franchise player again. So my guess is that during the season, they'll sit down and discuss a long-term deal. He's integral not only to their passing game, but to their running game as well. It's like having a third tackle on the field. He's outstanding.
Seattle guys were saying it's like they have 6 offensive linemen. Tremendous blocker and very, very fast.
And now you see that he's one of the few tight ends that stays in the full wide receiver set.
O'Donnell takes a look. He throws. He gets it to his man, Yancey Thigpen, inside the 35-yard line. Ron Earhart, the offensive coordinator for Pittsburgh, was saying when you look at game films and sprinters coming off the line, he's 20 yards downfield. He's right with the wide receivers. That's how fast 280-pound Eric Green is, as O'Donnell triggers a timeout by gutting the ball off the turf with just 9 seconds left.
Now this is a 50-yard kick, and the wind is blowing in the face. What little there is in the face of the Pittsburgh Steelers, so they need to get the ball another 5 yards to get within Anderson's range. He has some 50-plus field goals, but not into this little bit of wind. So they still need to get one more play downfield, and they do have a timeout left, so they can throw it in the middle of the field and get better position for Gary Anderson.
O'Donnell went to the sideline, got some counsel. There is Anderson, who doesn't kick quite as long as he used to. His 46-yarder is his best in the recent years.
And again, another issue, another training camp holdout there, Gary Anderson. A lot of people question as to what kind of kicking shape he's in. I think he's fine, but again, it's something for people to talk about. Missing most of, if not all, of training camp.
O'Donnell throws an out pattern. Well done by the Steelers as they get the ball down to the 21-yard line. The out pattern goes to Charles Johnson, and he has them now well within Anderson field goal range. That was as well executed as you can do it.
Now you're saying to yourself, big deal, they kick a field goal, it's 20-6. The Seahawks are still up by 2 touchdowns going into half. I'm not one of those people that is necessarily a complete advocate of momentum, but certainly the Pittsburgh Steelers have to feel good about the way they threw the ball on this particular drive. It's going to give O'Donnell some confidence, and they already have confidence because of the fact that they have come back from these deficits before, Don.
He hit from 31 yards on his first try. His next one is up, and it's good. That was a 38-yarder by Anderson, and just as they were a week ago in the second quarter, down by 14. The Steelers leave the field at halftime down by 14, but they can come back. Bill Cowher leading his team into the locker room. We'll be coming back with the Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report after these messages from your local stations.
Seahawks fans, I'd like to direct your...
He witnessed something he should never have seen.
I think you saw the man who did this.
He's locked inside his own world.
To one case, he's more than just a boy.
Last night, the killers almost got to that kid.
He isn't safe anywhere.
Half, as you see, the Seahawks in command of the Steelers, 20-6. Don Criqui with Todd Christensen. Todd, at halftime, I got a chance to talk with Dan Rooney, the president of the Steelers. I said, what's wrong from your standpoint? So we're not tackling anybody. So we got to hit this Warren. Chris Warren has 82 yards rushing in the first half.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with it. He's been doing a great job not only finding the holes, but breaking the tackles of the Pittsburgh Steelers. 82 yards, the very thing that they did not want to happen is happening. Last year, we mentioned it. That's what they were doing, running the ball extremely effectively. And once again, Chris Warren dominating the tacklers for Pittsburgh.
Now we're going to take a look at the Coors Light halftime statistics. Rushing yards, 213, 18 rushing yards, total yards, well, 128 rushing.
The thing that's deceptive there is that everything seems fairly even, but the reality is field position has played a big factor here. The average starting position for Seattle has been at the 42-yard line, whereas for Pittsburgh, it's been at approximately the 19. Take a look at the run here by Chris Warren. This is the one that really set up the touchdown on that short yardage, breaking 2 tackles, then cutting up, getting down to the 1-yard line to set up the Trey Junkin run. Chris Warren has just really had his way, and I think that this is important for him for a lot of reasons. Not simply the fact, Don, that he was able to, get the yardage, but his confidence factor with his elbow. Early on, he was tentative. Now he isn't. Trey Junkin is the one that gets the spoils of Warren's efforts, and we saw the 100,000 handshakes that he had afterwards.
You know that game ball is going to go home to the Junkin household.
Well, it's been a while since he's scored.
Here he's shaking hands with the offensive coordinator, Larry Kennan, who made the call. His last touchdown was in '92. He caught 1 touchdown pass in '92, did Trey Junkin, and now the second half is underway. They kick off downfield, and Ron Woodson breaks it across the 25, out across the 30, and out to the 32. And you can look for the Steelers to try some big things here in this drive. They want a touchdown up as we look at the comparative numbers of the quarterbacks.
Well, really, both quarterbacks made two atrocious throws. Of course, O'Donnell's interception across the field, Myers down the middle. But basically, up to this point, the real issue certainly for Seattle has been the running of Warren. And Foster certainly hasn't been ineffective and down 2 touchdowns with an entire half to play. Pittsburgh does not have to throw out their game plan. They can continue to run the ball, but their defense is what's going to have to step up.
Meyer, in his second year, will walk the sidelines as Neil O'Donnell works the offense of the Steelers. He's looking to put it up on first down. Open man. He comes in high, but Eric Green comes down with the ball with an all-pro play all the way out to the 46-yard line of Seattle.
The thing about Eric Green that makes him so effective, besides his obvious physical abilities, is he's the one tight end in the league that can still be covered and catch the ball. This is not bad coverage. He's right there, step for step, has his hand up there, but at 6'5", 280 pounds, he just shields his body from Blackman and the ball, and as a result makes a terrific catch.
Makes it 26 yards downfield. So the Steelers hit a big play to get their drive going down by 14 points. They go right back to the run. This time it's Barry Foster. A slashing run into the right side of the Seattle defense advances the ball to the 41-yard line. The stop by Kennedy.
Furthering the story on Eric Green, the great tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he made reference to Barry Foster when he said, "Run that big ship behind me." He said he provides the balance. And I thought it interesting because most tight ends, you know, Don, want the ball all the time. He said he only wants the ball in certain situations, which is surprising because I was one of those tight ends that seemed to beg for it on every down.
Here's the handoff again to Foster, but the Seahawks are there to shut him down at the 41-yard line. Eric Green caught 63 passes last season. He is now past Benny Cunningham as the all-time touchdown producer among Steeler tight ends.
That play right there, the misdirection play, Don, was something that was very effective in the first half. The Seahawks have made an adjustment with their inside backers not buying into the first fake, and as a result, didn't get anything.
Let's see what they go to now. It is 3rd down and 5. Charles Johnson at the top of your screen, the rookie deep threat. They're playing way off him as Neil O'Donnell lines in the shotgun. They bring Green in to block. He's going to Johnson, and he's got the ball for a first down. Charles Johnson runs the out, and O'Donnell, strong of arm, guns it right on his numbers.
Good throw by Neil O'Donnell, protection. They bring Eric Green to help, and it's a good thing, too, because Dermontti Dawson gets beat with a swim move. Charles Johnson with a nice out move on the rookie, Orlando Waters. Good field position now for the Steelers. They set up at the 30.
Andre Hastings now goes wide to the left for Pittsburgh. O'Donnell going to put it up again. He stands in the pocket, loses it downfield. There goes Eric Green, a diving attempt off his fingertips as O'Donnell pays the price just as he releases the ball.
Eric Green, man-for-man coverage here with Terry Wooden. Watch to the right of your screen, number 9. He's running step for step with him. O'Donnell lays it out, and Green lays out a little bit too far, and good coverage on the part of Terry Wooden. Very underrated outside backer who last game, Don, against the San Diego Chargers, 15 tackles.
Yeah, he had a tremendous game a week ago. He's had a good season, Terry Wooden. O'Donnell on a draw play goes to Foster. He breaks it. He's down to the 20-yard line. He has a first down for the Steelers. So a very important drive for Pittsburgh, and they're responding with big plays as they've advanced down to the Seattle 20.
Cortez Kennedy a little bit off on the play. Watch number 96, draw play, takes himself upfield and just takes himself out of the play. Nice block there by Duval Love, getting him down on the turf in the backfield, but can't come up with it, and as a result, Barry Foster gets downfield. Thank goodness for the resilience of youth. Charles Johnson okay there as you saw him roll up the back of his leg.
Yeah, Charles is now wide to the right, lower portion of your screen. Again, they go to Foster. Good lead block by the center, Dermontti Dawson, who pulled out. And Barry Foster's down close to the 16-yard line. A gain of almost 5 on the play. Joe Nash was on the stop for the Seahawks.
Offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers has been very stalwart all year long, providing the gaps, and one of the reasons for that is Dermontti Dawson, their center. I like when I go around the league, Don, to ask some of the players who they think are best, and when I talk to the defensive linemen around the league, both in the NFC and the AFC, 2 names come up. Bruce Matthews and Dermontti Dawson as the 2 best centers in the NFL.
He's the anchor of the Steelers' offensive line, and right now it is winning this battle as they go to Bam Morris. The Seahawks come across. Rufus Porter, who had that interception return, and Rod Stevens, two linebackers making the stop on Bam Morris. Bam was airborne when they got him.
Big concentration now for defenses is team speed. Bam Morris cuts to the outside. The outside backer, in this case Porter, does the right thing, keeping it outside, keeping him to where the pursuit can come and get him, and that's exactly what happened. Look at all the blue shirts around the ball. Good job. And that man right there, Rod Stevens, their inside backer, because he's a free agent, has not had the notoriety maybe he should, because he's been playing some excellent football for the Seahawks.
Yes, he has. A 60-year linebacker from Georgia Tech.
It'll be a 40-second timeout.
Seahawk coach is talking about it's difficult in a way to prepare for the Steelers when the Seahawks have the ball, because they're one of the few teams you see with a three-man front anymore. It was everybody ran the 3-4. Now the Steelers are just about it. Everybody's gone back to the four-man line.
Well, you know, Don, that's typical of the NFL. It's one of those situations that becomes cyclical. It goes from big backs to small backs. We need big, tough wide receivers. Then they go to Smurfs. We need a quarterback who's a rollout guy. Then he's a pocket guy. I mean, that's just typical of the National Football League. But in the case of some of the people, like, for instance, we mentioned Eric Green and Rod Stevens, Rufus Porter, people like this, I think they play in any era. These are great football players.
Rufus Porter is a great comeback. Tendon surgery last season. He hasn't lost a step. He's back as good as he ever was. Number 97. Now a big down. Third down and 3 for the Steelers. 13-yard line. O'Donnell stands in. He fires a strike to Eric Green at the 3-yard line. O'Donnell with a great timing throw. He knew where the big guy would be and led him perfectly.
It's an awful lot to ask Terry Wooden to cover him man for man on a slant route in the middle as opposed to the outside. He has the entire field that he has to cover, and really that's not bad coverage.
No.
That's just a tremendous throw and catch on the part of O'Donnell and Green, getting Green very involved in the offense here in the second half.
O'Donnell putting it where only Green could get it. Now it's first and goal for the Steelers. The handoff. John L. Williams couldn't get started. Seattle got to him. He's knocked down at the 3-yard line. Might have lost a yard on the play.
Craig Keith is asking just a little. They're asking a little too much of Craig Keith here to wham. This is known as a wham block when the tight end goes in motion to hit that 310-pounder. Number 87 just gets absolutely hammered by Tez in the middle of the field, and that's the reason the play went nowhere.
Ball will be spotted right at the 2-yard line. Steelers with a power set, extra tight ends in the game. They're strong to the right. That's where they might be running. Here's the handoff. They do go right at Clarksburg. Is taken down at the 1-yard line. It'll be third and goal from there. Dwayne Bickett was in the play, the veteran Colt who came over here as a free agent to Seattle.
Now this shows a lot of the confidence that Bill Cowher, Ron Earhart, et al. Of the offensive people have in their offensive line. This could arguably be 4-down territory. You're looking at your offensive line. You've got a couple of Pro Bowlers that have been able to move people off the line up to this point. Do you say to yourself here on the 13th play of the drive, we're going to run it in there and not play action pass because we're going for it on 4th down? Be interesting to see here.
Let's see if he throws. He's gonna. Neil O'Donnell takes a look. Running out of time. He has to throw it away. So, the Seahawks stand tall when they're challenged at their goal line.
Don, the reason I mention that is because on 3rd down, that's very predictable. Twice you run into the line, it doesn't work. Everybody on the planet knows that on 3rd down, you're going to go with play action pass. Give Seattle credit. They knew it was happening there. And now, it appears that Pittsburgh is going to go for it on 4th down. I bet they wish they had that play back and they would have run.
What do you look for now?
Well, now they're forced into a situation if they have to go to play action pass. I'm surprised here that they have their 3 tight ends in. They probably should have some of their wideouts.
Handoff. They go to the run, and Foster didn't get there. They stop him at the 1-yard line. Eugene Robinson, the free safety, shot the gap. The free agent from Colgate, and he made a touchdown-saving tackle, and the Seahawks take over.
That right there is a great call on 3rd down and then 4th down. It's a terrible call on 4th down alone. You don't give yourself a chance here because nobody rolls out. As a result, Seattle has the momentum, even if they are on their own 1-yard line.
I know what you're feeling.
It's the world's most advanced long-distance network, AT&T. Yet today, something remarkable is happening. A breakthrough from AT&T Bell Labs in digital voice reproduction called AT&T True Voice. Soon, everyone with AT&T will enjoy sound quality more lifelike than was ever possible before. So your voice sounds clearer, warmer, closer to the real you. Only AT&T can bring you True Voice.
Ready?
Listen to the difference.
And go.
It's the most lifelike sound ever, and it's part of your basic service, just because you're with AT&T.
It's twilight. Sunroof's open. We're cruising down the coast highway in my new Bonneville. Yeah, I'm in an evening dress. He looks great. Soft music on the CD. He leans over and says, "This is nice. Dual airbags, traction control, over 200 horsepower. He even knew it was almost 15 grand less than a BMW or Lexus. So it was love at first sight. You could say that.
At 5'11", 185 pounds, Eugene Robinson is not the likely guy to stuff Barry Foster, but he makes a tremendous play, sticks his nose in the hole. It's mano-y-mano there, Barry Foster versus Eugene Robinson. Robinson of the Seahawks are the winners. Cower and Foster the losers on that particular series.
Now let's see if the Steelers blitz. They do, as they play run, and the Seahawks are unable to move the ball. Chris Warren trying to get his team out of jail, backed up at their 1-yard line. Robinson, interesting guy. He's a computer specialist from Colgate, accomplished saxophone player, taught himself to play.
Certainly one of the most loquacious members of the National Football League. Boy, can he talk. He also gives some haircuts. I don't know if I want to get my coif messed with by Eugene Robinson. I'll stay with my own. That man right there can't be terribly happy. You would have figured that certainly the 5'10", 220-pounder would have just run over Eugene Robinson into the end zone, but give Robinson credit.
Yeah, it was a terrific tackle. The gap was there. Foster had a place to go until Robinson submarined him. Now on second down, Meyer looks from the end zone. Here comes the rush. He throws, and he's almost picked off. LaVon Kirkland, the big linebacker from Florida. From Clemson, LaVon is from, but he was going to Farrell Edmonds, and LaVon almost had it.
Lucky to get that ball back. Edmonds gets a little bit of push on Eric Green right in the face of Meyer, making him throw off of his back foot. And you're right, LaVon Kirkland should have had that ball.
Now with 8 minutes and 15 seconds to play in the third quarter, Seattle has the ball. Third down, they need 9. The ball positioned at the Seahawks' 2-yard line.
And 4 for 6 on third down conversions.
Meyer gets some time. He swings it out. Steve Smith, he apparently figured he was going to get stopped in the end zone for a safety, so he let it bounce off him.
Yeah, there's a situation where you don't want him to catch the ball, because you're right, they were all over that.
Here comes a big kick rush, Todd.
First punt of the day. That's got to be tough for Rick Tootin and under very adverse circumstances. Normally, as most people know, the snap is about a 15-yard snap. In this case, it's going to be about 11, and Tootin has to have his heels just inside the white line there and can't step back, or it's going to be a safety. Good opportunity here for Woodson to get a gap on some return.
He did well to get it off. It does take a Seahawk bounce, and here comes Woodson inside the 40, and the Steelers, who drove all the way down to the 1-yard line the last time they had it, didn't score. Now get the ball back at the 38-yard line of Seattle. Looks like Rod Woodson was dinged on the return.
Looking good. Facing with your car is a great idea.
Yeah, especially when it's my new Grand Am.
Well, you couldn't take my car. Doesn't have analog brakes or an airbag.
Or 150 horsepower. Your car couldn't keep up with me.
Man, this engine is really smooth.
What?
I said you're really starting to move.
Hey, where are you?
We brought you here for a little chat about your teeth and some good news.
An instrument made to get between teeth that you can comfortably use at home. The new generation Crest Complete. First, Crest created a brush to fit your teeth, designed to penetrate and clean far between them. Now new Crest Complete goes even farther than before. The better you care for your teeth, the more you and your dentist can enjoy these little visits. New Crest Complete, the dentist's choice for rippled brushes.
The water on the left is being heated by electricity. On the right, by gas. For the cost of heating this much water with electricity, we'd like to show you how much more you can get with gas. And if your neighborhood doesn't have natural gas, you can still heat for less than electricity with propane gas. So no matter where you live, why settle for the water on the left when gas gives you all that hot water on the right? Gas, America's best energy value.
Next Sunday, there's more great NFL action on NBC. Boomer Esiason and the high-flying Jets take on the Cleveland Browns. Or the Buffalo Bills battle the Chicago Bears. Or Rick Meyer returns to Indy as the Seahawks face the Colts. The NFL on NBC.
Love to stay. Gotta run.
Rod Woodson, in setting up Pittsburgh's best field position, pays a price here. He gets dinged in the head by Spitolski right at the end there, but he's okay.
Now to live action. Neil O'Donnell pump faking, fires over the middle. He comes in high. It's incomplete. He was looking at Andre Hastings, who's caught no ball so far today for Pittsburgh.
Rod Woodson, who many people feel is arguably the best defensive player in the National Football League, number 26 for the Steelers. After getting dinged over on the sidelines, now he's okay. There he is on the sidelines, chatting with people, but he's all right. He'll be back.
This is 2nd and 10. Bootleg. O'Donnell throws, and he's not close. Almost an illegal hit on Eric Green as they chopped him when the ball flew overhead. He's not happy about the hit he took from Blackman.
Well, the thing about it is that if you're going to hit the man when he's not looking, hit him up top, and that's what Green is saying right there. Come on. If you're going to hit me when I'm not looking, watch the middle of field, number 86. He goes up for the ball. It's past him. He's not looking. That was. You know what? That really could have drawn a flag. And in the case of Eric Green, he bounces up and says, hey, wait. He said, if you're going to hit me when I'm not looking, hit me up top. Be a man.
A goodly-sized gentleman, Eric. He's got the girth of an alderman.
I'm telling you that from personal experience. If it sounds like that I'm a little bit strident.
Yeah, well, that's right. You've been there.
It's just that when he turns around and looks and is vulnerable like that, it's incumbent upon the defensive man to take a whack at him up top. I mean, there are no rules to it, but that reminds me a little bit of what Andre Waters took so much grief for over the last couple of years, always going after the knees.
I'll tell you, last week, John L. Williams putting a block on Quentin Corriette of the Colts went right for his knee. How Corriette ever came out of that and back into play this week, I don't know. His knee went sideways, but he came back. But in an open field, I guess you got to hit him wherever you can. But there certainly is the unwritten rule. And oftentimes you pay a price if you violate it.
Rod Stevens, the middle linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks, is the man shaken up, replaced by Bob Spitolski. Blackman and Robinson talking over the coverage here on 3rd and 10.
Everybody has a blind side sooner or later. O'Donnell on 3rd down. In trouble, gets it away, and it's broken up. Eugene Robinson was covering him so well. Eric Green was the intended receiver, and then Raphael Robinson, number 21, also is on the play.
Raphael Robinson, man-for-man coverage with Eric Green, which is always difficult because of the size factor. He just puts too much pressure on safeties and corners because he beats them up. Watch him cut to the outside, make it look like that, and then he just throws them out of the way. The ball is arriving late, and Robinson does a great job of making the close. The right hand brushes Green, but not enough for the interference call. Good play by Raphael Robinson.
Second-year defensive back from Wisconsin. Now the punt hit downfield by Mark Royals. And the Seattle Seahawks are ready to take over the ball again. They've given up yards, but no points to Pittsburgh in the second half.
You let Vince drive your new Bonneville just to the game. Guy's a wild man. He wanted to see how the Bonneville stacked up to his BMW. I got his attention when I told him I had traction control, dual airbags, and even more horsepower than his BMW, and for thousands less. So you think he'll like it? Well, I suppose he does. That guy.
Airbags, seat belts, and anti-lock brakes, child safety seats, careful driving, and a set of Michelins.
McDonald's is your place for music this month. Get Tina Turner's greatest hits. Or Elton John's classics. Each full-length CD is just $5.99. Each cassette $3.99 when you buy any extra value meal or large sandwich. Don't miss it.
It's up to you. All you have to do is brush your teeth. No brush, no story.
With fax, voicemail, speakerphone, and an integrated CD-ROM system,
Daddy, let's do this book tonight.
the compact Presario will let you do things that may have seemed impossible before.
See brush?
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We are driving excitement. By McDonald's, what you want is what you get at McDonald's today. By Edge Aftershave, ultimate comfort, that's the edge. And by AT&T, we help put your world within reach.
With Todd Christensen, this is Don Criqui back at Husky Stadium, the University of Washington's home field. The current temporary home field of the Seattle Seahawks, who hold to a 20-6 lead over the Steelers. There's Rod Woodson, shaken up a bit ago, back in the lineup. As Rick Meyer drops to throw for the Seahawks on 1st and 10, has an open man, Kelvin Martin. And he's out to the 26-yard line, 13 yards and a first down.
That shows the confidence that Larry Kennan has in Rick Meyer. Got a situation where now you have back-to-back bad field positions starting at your own 1, and then they're starting at your own 12. But Larry Kennan right there showing the confidence of the youngster, not handing off to Chris Warren, giving Meyer the opportunity to throw the ball. Bodes well for the offense of the Seahawks.
It does. Meyer has hit 11 of 17 throws for 155 yards and 1 touchdown. He's been sacked twice. He's been intercepted once.
Yep.
Now there's a break in the action on the field, a timeout with 7:04 to go in the third quarter. And the score standing as it did at halftime, Seattle 20, Pittsburgh 6.
A champion in the world of sports and now a business winner. This profile brought to you by AT&T.
103.9 KACE.
With 150 employees and 5 radio stations, former Green Bay Packer Willie Davis went from the Super Bowl to the studio with equal success.
I'm an entrepreneur to the core. I do get involved. I try to create a part of the leadership, a part of the motivation. Lombardi used to tell us the way you kind of function here in football is the way you'll live the rest of your life.
I know what you're feeling.
Now, the world's most advanced long-distance network, AT&T, brings you the most lifelike sound quality ever. It's AT&T True Voice. Listen to the difference.
And go.
It's a breakthrough in digital voice reproduction, and it's part of your basic service, just because you are with AT&T.
What am I doing here with you?
You're my brother. It's your genetic obligation to help me.
Right. So, the Grand Am has a 150 horsepower engine, standard.
Oh, it is a blast to drive, and the balance shaft makes it smooth as silk.
Standard airbag and anti-lock brakes, exactly.
You know the Grand Am costs thousands less than the Accord or the Camry?
Really?
Yep, I researched it.
Well, you've made a smart choice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what am I doing here?
You're helping me pick out a color.
Color. Yeah.
Labor negotiations between the league and the officials seem to have come to a degree of fruition with a tentative agreement. But there's something to be considered here. As much as the officials do deserve the things that have come their way in terms of benefits, it's now time to consider something that I've considered for a very long time that the league has to implement. How about full-time officials?
Well, Red Cashin might agree with that. He's the referee today. Here is Rick Meyer throwing downfield and wisely throwing it away as the rush was on. Woodson was coming on a cornerback blitz, and the coverage was good. So Meyer had nowhere to go but to the Steeler bench to throw it away. Brings up 2nd down and 10.
Don, one of the things here is the fact that certainly the officials on the field do a credible job. But for the one sport, the one major professional sport in America that does not have full-time officials, it just seems to me to make sense to have people that are doing it as a job and not necessarily as an avocation or a sidelight.
That's certainly been discussed a lot. Warren runs the ball. The Seahawks holding to a 14-point lead with 6:50 to play in the third quarter and the clock running. Seahawks content to take time off the clock if they can. The Steelers with a big opening drive that got all the way down to the Seattle 1, and then Foster was stopped by Eugene Robinson, and there were no points. Warren with some nice numbers. One of the things that Bill Cowher said yesterday, we've got to stop Warren. That's number one guy we've got to stop, and they haven't done it. Big rush. Meyer stands in. Ryan Blaze was the intended receiver, number 89. Warren was also running a pattern in the same area.
You mentioned that the Seahawks wanted to take some time off the clock. I'm surprised they didn't just get the ball to this man right here. The problem here, though, Don, is that if you decide that you want to be too overly conservative, you take yourself out of your game plan. And with over 20 minutes of football left, clearly the Steelers are not out of it.
By a long shot. Here's Woodson moving up. Signals a fair catch on the punt. And it takes a Seattle roll down to about the 31-yard line. Not done. It gets to the 30, into the 29. So the Steelers will have the ball, but they have 14 points to make up.
Excuse me, Shane.
In the NFL, there's only one sports drink, and it's gotta be Gatorade. Now, to each man who shaves, there's an edge all his own. Only Edge Gel has 8 custom formulas to fit every shaving need. From tough beards to sensitive skin. For a close, comfortable shave, get an edge of your own. Ultimate closeness, ultimate comfort. That's the Edge. And try improved Edge aftershave. Now more soothing than ever.
Jim Kelly, one of the NFL's top guns. Bears coach Dave Wanstead talks with Mike Ditka. All you need to know in one complete 30-minute helping. NFL Live, next Sunday.
On the shores of Lake Washington at Husky Stadium, Seattle continues to lead the Steelers 20-6. Don Criqui with Todd Christensen. Yesterday, Coach Bill Cowher of the Steelers told us we have to keep the Seattle blitz off our guy Neil O'Donnell, and we have to stop Chris Warren. Well, Warren's got 86 yards, Todd, and he's been controlling the game.
Yeah, on 16 carries, he really has. And you know, he's probably a well-kept secret. I think because of the fact that up here in Seattle, maybe they don't get the national notoriety of someone who would be running in Dallas or New York or other large media markets. But this is a man that's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and certainly the way he's played today is indicative of being one of the elites in the National Football League.
Yeah, bad elbow and all. He's playing with that bone chip in his elbow. I called him by his high school nickname yesterday. His name was Smooth. And you were likening him to the former Dallas standout, Dwayne Thomas. A gliding, big striding motion. Here comes Foster, a choppy power runner, who 2 years ago rushed for almost 1,700 yards for the Steelers. He was a 5th-round draft choice, Barry Foster.
Cortez Kennedy trying to break up the double team, cuts off the block, and he makes the tackle here at the end. Okay, he makes the tackle, but Duval Love is the one that won that battle. They want Cortez Kennedy making tackles 9 yards downfield.
Ramadi Dawson, the Pro Bowl center, checks his offensive line, gives the snap to O'Donnell, who hands to Foster, and he bangs ahead for 5 yards and a Pittsburgh first down. Stopped by inside backer Rod Stevens, who had a slight ankle sprain a little bit ago, but he's back in there.
Well, now it's interesting. We give the proper kudos, of course, to Chris Warren, but Barry Foster now is over 90 yards, and it's surprising because you would have thought team rushing now for the Seahawks is over 100, or for the Steelers, rather, and you would have thought that they'd have more to show for it than just the 6 points thus far.
Their rushing numbers very effective. 24 carries for the Steelers as a team for 115 yards. Here's the throw, another pick out of the air. This one taken down by John L. Williams, and he's to the 50. First down throw, good for over 8 yards. It'll be second and just over a yard for first down. Blackman tackled him. Eric Green played for the former Cleveland coach, Sam Rutigliano, at Liberty College. Big Eric lumbers back to the huddle. He's got that great burst. And this time he comes out strong right, which often indicates where they're going to run. They go the other way this time. It's Foster to the weak side, and he's inside the 45-yard line. He gets 5 and a first down. Kennedy on the stop.
Well, the issue here is that Pittsburgh has not had any struggle at all, Don, with moving the ball between the 20-yard lines. But as we mentioned earlier at the beginning of the half, the goal line stand, the egregious error on the part of O'Donnell in the second quarter when he threw across his body and Rufus Porter intercepted the pass. A lot of lost opportunities for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That and the fact that field position has plagued them throughout this game.
Foster, Todd, is up to 94 yards rushing on 20 carries. O'Donnell throws a fastball, and look at the catch by Eric Green.
And you know what? You saw Robert Blackman shake his head and say, I don't get it. I was in great coverage. But what can you do? Eric Green with an outstanding catch. This is a short corner route. He takes the outside release, breaks to the out. Not a terrific move. And as I mentioned, Blackman all over him. But look at the extension by the 280-pounder and great hands. I think a lot of cases you get too involved with the fact that this is a man who's a 280-pound big man, but he does have the finesse as well. The nice little move and nice catch.
Beautiful, soft hands. A bear of a man with watchmaker's hands, and now they hand off to Bam Morris, and Wooden, number 90, who had the 15 tackles a week ago on this playing field against San Diego, makes a big stop for a loss.
A series ago, we mentioned the fact that on the counter tray that was so effective in the first half, Seattle had made an adjustment. Watch the top of your screen, all the blue shirts. Now look at all the people on top. Wooden able to catch the garbage after Porter, who sees the misdirection coming, doesn't wait for the guard. Watch the left of your screen. Porter isn't waiting for the guard to come and get him. He's attacking, and even though he doesn't make the tackle on Morris in the backfield, he's the one that created the problems.
Second down. O'Donnell drops. Second and 14. A hard throw. Too much on it. The ball was up for grabs, and Eugene Robinson was perilously close to picking off O'Donnell.
Well, Eugene Robinson isn't necessarily disgusted with himself, and here's why. He knew that in that situation he needed to sprint up to make the hit, and that's what he is focused on. Watch number 41. Watch where his eyes are. He's focused on making the hit here on the back, in this case Foster, and then all of a sudden the ball comes at the last minute. He's able to get a hand on it.
Third down arises. It's a big one now as Powers' team trails by 14. Third down, and the Steelers need 14. They converted just 3 of 8 previous third downs. 4-man rush. Too much on it. O'Donnell comes in high, and the Steelers have to punt.
One of the reasons I don't like this call, Don, is because they're in 4-down territory anyway. Why not throw a short pass, a cross, or a hook to Green, get 8 of the 14 yards, then come back on 4th down and get it? Instead, they go for the long downfield throw that is not a good percentage throw. He throws it high, and as you mentioned, now they're forced to punt.
And Royals is the punter. Hits it from the Seattle 46. Well hit. He'll down it inside the 5-yard line, or together at the 6. So the ball arced in there softly by Royals and down by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Craig Keith got down to get it. And we remind you that next Sunday, NBC Sports presents more hard-hitting NFL action beginning at 12:30 Eastern Time with NFL Live. Most of you will see the Jets go against the Cleveland Browns at Cleveland. Others will see the Seahawks as they go after the Colts at Indianapolis. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Neil O'Donnell getting some counsel on the sideline from Ron Earhart, his offensive coordinator. Rick Meyer content to go to the run, and Chris Warren weaves his way straight ahead for 5, out to the 13-yard line. Chad Brown, the tackler.
Well, Chris Warren has been doing the terrific running, but let's give credit to the offensive line of the Seattle Seahawks, particularly the left side of that line. Blackshear, Roberts, and of course Ray Donaldson, the old man in the middle, has been doing an outstanding job as well, creating the gaps. And as you mentioned at the outset, the size factor here is a big deal because the interior linemen for Pittsburgh average less than 280 pounds, which may not seem that small by regular human being standards, but by football standards it is, and you can see right there, that's the reason why they're starting to wear down the front 7 of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, it's an overmatch of about 35 pounds a man on the average. These guys weigh 315 on the average, the Seattle offensive line.
And who would have thought, as you look at Ray Donaldson at the middle, 6'3", 300 pounds, he's the dwarf of the group.
That's
at that
right.
size.
Howard Baylor, the right tackle, is the biggest. Here is a handoff straight ahead. They're going to go to Warren, run the ball straight ahead and run the clock, which is down to 40 seconds to play.
Well, you mentioned,
the third quarter.
I'm sorry, Don, you mentioned the big bodies. Here are some of the pioneers, the original big bodies. And look at I love those nicknames, the Kellys and the Blues and the Badgers. And
kind of like Big Heavy Underwood.
Yeah, that is Big Heavy. Terrific nickname, great moniker. At the bottom you saw Cal Hubbard, the only man who is in both Hall of Fames, football and baseball. It's quite a combination.
It is a baseball umpire. Handoff goes to Tracy Johnson. He struck hard as he gets to the 27-yard line, and that'll do it for the third quarter of play as the score stays as it was at the half. Seahawks 20, Steelers 6. So a standing salute here at Husky Stadium for a job well done by the Seattle Seahawks. We'll be back after these messages from your local stations.
Monday on an all-new Fresh Prince, Will takes Nicky to see Dougie the Whale. One problem.
I think you better keep your fins off me.
Oh, yeah? All-new Fresh Prince, NBC Monday.
Question. What's America's #1 selling minivan? What minivan is around $16,900 with all this and is only at your Dodge dealer? Answer, Dodge Caravan. So go get the family. For all the answers, see your nearest Dodge dealer today. Question. What car changed everything? What truly remarkable car comes at a price you can afford and only at your Dodge dealer? Answer, Dodge Intrepid. I'll bet you knew that. For all the answers, see your nearest Dodge dealer.
Sure, your old gas furnace still works, but with energy savings of up to 40%, the Lennox Pulse 21 gas furnace makes saying goodbye a lot easier.
Let Lewis & Burge decrease your utility bills with an efficient Lennox gas furnace.
Remember, naturally natural gas.
Call my friend Mel Rexroad for a Lennox efficient gas furnace.
Thanks, Dave. We recommend naturally natural gas.
When energy savings a must be a Lennox.
Carl's Dust Cutter Soda Pop is now available at Go-Mart. 6 fabulous flavors from one frosted hillbilly.
WBOY-TV 12. Presented by authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the NFL is prohibited.
Back to Seattle. Seahawks with the ball and a 14-point lead as we open the fourth quarter. Steelers hunting the ball as they're down 20-6. Kelvin Martin pays the price. Coming in on a slant pattern. Myers right on his numbers.
Kelvin Martin has shown a lot of courage today. That's about, I believe, the third catch where he's caught the ball and gotten hammered. Deion Figures right there trying to separate him from the ball, but it didn't happen. Martin hanging on.
There's the numbers. Steelers with a yardage advantage, but not on the scoreboard. They're way down.
Well, you know what they say, lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Yep, that was Disraeli.
Very good.
Said that. Here's the pitch back. Goes to Johnson, and he takes it out to the, actually Chris Warren gets it out to the 38-yard line. Stopped by Greg Lloyd.
Well, it's a situation where Pittsburgh, the time may not have been a factor in the third quarter, but now it is. 14 minutes and running. Steelers need to stop the Seahawks here, and when they come back, even though they don't have to discard their running game completely, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot more than they did in the first half.
Meyer timing throw, and he gets it off somehow just before he's hit. Gets it to Warren as a big lick is put on. Greg Lloyd put the hit on. Kevin Green was also pressuring him.
See a little pain in the face. Watch the left of your screen. Greg Lloyd comes completely untouched. Just at the last minute, he's able to get it off. Chris Warren would have been better advised to fall down and stop the clock, or keep the clock running. Take a look at the helmet right between the shoulder blades. People forget, though, when they look at that baby face of Rick Meyer, assume that this is somebody who's a little bit laid back and not that tough, but he's 6 foot, nearly 6'3", 215 pounds. He's a Husky kid.
Spends a lot of time in the weight room. Now he throws the screen pass, gets it to Chris Warren, and the Steelers defend it well. That was on a 3rd and 10, and it was good for just a 1-yard gain.
And a big tackle by Rod Woodson. Rod, earlier in the game, we mentioned, had the injured shoulder, but he makes a big play there. And when you consider all the tackles that Chris Warren has broken today, Don, that's a big play by Woodson, forcing the punt. But he's shook up enough to where he's not going to be back returning the punts. In this case, it's going to be Charles Johnson.
Yeah, they're putting the rookie back. Charles Johnson standing back at his 20. A well-hit ball downfield by Tootin, angled to the far sideline.
Great punt. Great punt.
All going right for the Seahawks as they down the ball at the Steelers 3.
60-yard punt by Rick Tootin to make up for the others. He's got to be happy about it, putting the Steelers in atrocious field position.
There is one detail of extraordinary thoughtfulness in the 1995 Mitsubishi Galant.
These are a few of my favorite things.
After you turn off the ignition, you still have 30 seconds of power to open or close the windows or sunroof. It's a luxury you may quickly come to think of as a necessity. In the Galant.
These are a few of my favorite things.
From Mitsubishi, the new thinking in automobiles.
As your engine revs higher, the oil inside creates a hydrodynamic wedge, a protective layer that builds up and keeps engine parts separated. But as your oil's viscosity breaks down, so can the wedge. That's why Castrol GTX provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown. Because if your viscosity breaks down, what's next? Castrol GTX, engineered for greater protection against breakdown. Now get a free officially licensed NFL team shirt when you buy a case of Castrol GTX. The NFL on NBC is brought to you by the all-new 1995 Eclipse from Mitsubishi, the new thinking in automobiles. By Coors Light, the silver bullet. Keep on moving. By Castrol GTX, engineered for greater protection against breakdown. And by Warner Brothers' new motion picture, The Specialist, starting Friday, October 7th at a theater near you.
Just got a look at the great Northwest as Lewis and Clark saw it. Century and a half ago. Here is the handoff as the Steelers look for running room, and Rod Foster doesn't get much. He's to the 6-yard line. Stopped by Rufus Porter.
Don, coming into this game, neither punter, either the Seattle punter or the Pittsburgh punter, had been hitting much in the way of what you would call satellites. The statistics bear that out. The two worst punters in the league heading into this game, but Rick Tootin now with an officially it was a 58-yard punt originally. I thought it was 60, pinning the Steelers down at the 4-yard line. Great job by this man who 2 years ago just missed the record for most punts in a season by Bob Parsons. The Chicago Bears hit 108 punts in 1992. That is a lot of kicking.
You're not playing for a great team when you lead the league in number of punts. Here's the throw. It's caught a little bit to the wrong side. John L. Williams makes a good play on the ball for the Steelers, but third down arises, and they need about 5.
Yeah, even though that wasn't much in the way of yardage, that was a nice catch by Williams. You pointed out the ball thrown behind. It's one of the reasons why they trust him in the passing game. Barry Foster is the one who goes out on third down. Normally it's the tailback that goes down in the third down passing package, but instead it's number 22, John Williams, that stays in to both block and catch.
O'Donnell 13 of 26 for 167 yards. He makes the throw for a first down to rookie Charles Johnson out to the 17-yard line.
And this is certainly the time now that O'Donnell has to take advantage of the inexperience in the secondary for the Seattle Seahawks. The slant route here to number 81, Charles Johnson, number 1 draft choice out of Colorado. Carlton Gray comes up a little bit too slow. Charles Johnson, an interesting character, great human interest story. Lived in 15 different places when he was a youth. And take a look at how exuberant he is to be in the National Football League. He says he loves to go over the middle. It excites me. And I don't know why, but I love to block. I got to tell you, he's got to be the only receiver in the National Football League that feels that way, Don.
The coaches got to look ahead on their team. Is this a pickoff? Eugene Robinson and Charles Johnson were fighting for the ball. They say that Eugene won it. Interception for Seattle. Second pickoff of the day of O'Donnell.
They went with the out-and-up route, Don. O'Donnell decided to throw it up, and Robinson, playing center field, makes an outstanding play. That's the reason right there, his athletic ability, why he has had more interceptions than anybody in the National Football League over the last 5 years. Take a look at Charles Johnson. A little bit of an out move, but he doesn't look back enough. And he's not fooling Orlando Waters. Now watch the left of your screen. Here comes Robinson getting the ball at the apex of its throw. Johnson jumps on top, but it's Robinson's ball all the way. O'Donnell hoping for a gift there, but he knows. Look at that chagrin look on his face. He knew that when he threw it, it was 50-50. It was going to get picked off, and that's exactly what happened.
Timing throw by Meyer is ridden off the play as Kelvin Martin by defensive back Deion Figures. Meyer's been a standout his whole life. As an 8-year-old, he won the National Pass, Punt, and Kick competition. As a senior at Goshen, Indiana High School, he was voted by USA Today as the High School Player of the Year. Started 3 years at Notre Dame and quarterbacked them to a bowl victory every year, orange, sugar, and cotton. Then came in as the number 2 player picked in the NFL draft. Eugene Robinson was a free agent picked by nobody, but he has become one of the best defensive backs in the NFL.
And, of course, that number now goes to 25. Interesting, at the bottom of that list was Deion Sanders, who picked one off and ran it back 74 yards today, as we mentioned earlier. His 16 interceptions are probably in about half the games of the other players because of his part-time deal. There you see at the bottom, Deion Sanders, San Francisco 49ers, 74-yard touchdown return today. But the man we feature, Eugene Robinson, a very cerebral one from Colgate, very bright guy, not somebody with great physical skills, as we mentioned, 5'11", about 185 pounds, very smart guy, understands defenses, as we saw earlier, not just a guy that picks the ball off with a big hit on Barry Foster at the goal line.
No, he's such an impact hitter, and he's not big, as you point out, 5'11", 185. Meyer with the out pattern, a little too much pop on it, as the ball comes in to Michael Bates, who they think might turn into a real good deep threat. But the Seahawks offense goes 3 downs and out.
And if you could, I was going to say, Don, if you could read lips, he's not very happy about it. He said, catch in an adjective we can't use, ball. Michael Bates, you mentioned deep threat, but right now he's certainly no possession receiver, as witnessed by Meyer's reaction to that drop.
Bates, the young man who won the bronze medal at Barcelona in the 200 meters. Rod Woodson, who was an All-American track man at Purdue, and it kicks into the end zone despite the best efforts. The Seahawks, they got some hellacious special team players. But the Steelers will get it at their 20 in a moment.
An ordinary beer can, barely alive.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild it. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic can. Coors Light will be that can. Better than it was before. Taller, thinner, silver.
Next on the Coors Light Channel.
Is it friendly or hostile? Is it a force for good or evil? Only one thing is known for certain. It sure knows how to make a first impression. Introducing the all-new 1995 Eclipse from Mitsubishi. The new thinking in automobiles.
The government taught him to kill.
Word is, you're the best.
Now he's using his skills to help one woman seek revenge against the men who killed her family.
Do you think the killing is going to make everything all right?
Something has to.
Silence, come on! It's my problem now, I'm theirs.
Close your heart in my hand. Sylvester Stallone. Sharon Stone. The Specialist. Rated R. Starts Friday, October 7th at a theater near you.
Tonight on NBC, the world premiere of a powerful mystery thriller, The Innocent. Emmy winner Kelsey Grammer of Frasier is a cop trying to save a young boy targeted for murder. That's the NBC Sunday night movie, The Innocent, tonight at 9 Eastern and Pacific, right here on NBC. Don Criqui with Todd Christensen at Husky Stadium on the shores of Lake Washington, where the Pittsburgh Steelers were beaten in Seattle a year ago at the Kingdome 16-6, having the same difficulties this year. Today they're down by 14 points here in the fourth quarter as Seattle has run the ball very well. O'Donnell now forced to pass, a first down throw. He makes the connection, it's good for a first down. He gets John L. Williams out of the backfield as he approaches 490 career receptions. Terry Wooden was on the tackle.
I was thinking that maybe in this drive, Don, that they would go to the 2-minute mindset, but evidently they feel that with 9-10 and counting, that they can afford the luxury of huddling.
O'Donnell has to be careful. He's been picked off twice. He takes a look. Fires the ball downfield, and Terry Wooden was very close to that ball. A Seattle linebacker.
It's interesting that one of the weaknesses of Neil O'Donnell is that when he does roll out, it's not a matter of being mobile. It's just that now in the National Football League, when you can escape the rush and go to the outside, you've got to create things and make things happen, because the secondary, then their coverage breaks down. He had two different people open there, but he just couldn't deliver the ball.
It appeared that momentum was with the Steelers on the opening drive of the third quarter. They took it down the field all the way to the 1-yard line of Seattle, but couldn't score and couldn't get points. Been no scoring in the second half. O'Donnell looks. He's got a man. Putting his head down and thundering ahead for a first down is John L. Williams. Big play, a 13-yard gain, and the Steelers drive on with a lot of time left, 8:40 to go.
Well, they want to go to somebody reliable in this situation to move the sticks, and nobody has been more reliable today than John L. Williams, making the catch in the flat, cutting up field, getting the yardage necessary for the first down.
Here's a throw and a catch by Eric Green as he comes down with the ball for yet another Steeler first down.
I'll tell you what, Eric Green is really impressing me with his hands. He has made some great hands catches. Take a look here, the ball's to the outside. It's not his body at all. Watch him extend the hands. Right there, the ball overthrown. Look at that catch in the fingertips. A lot of times you argue the fact that people talk about soft hands. He has strong hands, too, because to make that sort of catch, they can't just be soft. Those are in the fingertips. He squeezes the ball. Great catch by Green.
There's another throw downfield. There's a terrific play by Yancey Thigpen as he gets a first down throw. He also catches it, Todd, with his hands. He doesn't try to catch it off his pads. You caught it with your hands, but it seems a lot of guys, even at this level, try to catch it off their pads and cushion it, and it comes right off their shoulder pads.
Well, Yancey Thigpen here just wants to get the ball. Watch his thrown low. Watch where he makes the catch. He extends also, as you mentioned, with the hands. I think one of the advantages now, as opposed to when I was playing, is the proliferation of the tackified gloves. You very rarely see the bare hands anymore, and I think that has something to do with it.
Good point. They all wear gloves. Used to be just in bad weather. Here's a penalty marker coming in from the umpire, who stands behind the linebackers. That often indicates a hold on the offense.
And Barry Foster saw it. You can see he's a little bit disgusted as he bounces up, shaking his head, going nuts. Just as we have it going, now we've got to start out 1st and 20. And the reason he's shaking his head, besides the fact that he did go over 100 yards right there, but it's going to come back, now he knows that at 1st and 20.
Holding, number 65 on the offense. 10 yards, still first down.
John Jackson.
To further that thought, at 1st and 20, the more than likely now they're going to have to throw. Chatted with John Jackson yesterday and asked him who he thought was the best left tackle in football.
That was interesting conversation.
It was, wasn't it?
We'll get into it in a little bit. He had a few. Terrific throw, but they can't make the connection. And here's a penalty marker coming in. It's going to go against the Seahawks. Eric Green was fouled.
Well, remember earlier in the game, maybe this is payback, John. Remember earlier in the game when he got bumped and they didn't call it. There certainly can't be an argument over whether or not it was catchable. It certainly was.
John Jackson talking about how much he liked Richmond Webb of Miami. He had another interesting observation about being a left tackle, because that's where the big pass rushers come from usually, across from him. Said, you'd better do your job well or somebody gets hurt, namely the quarterback.
Interference on the defense. First down.
It is a call on Seattle, so with 6:58 to play, the Steelers drive on with a first down.
Right side of your screen, watch number 86, Eric Green, who's going to run kind of a hook-in route. Cuts inside. Linebacker has him here. That's Rod Stevens that comes over the top. Once again, the left arm is draped around his waist. Close call.
Throw, and it's picked off. Seattle takes it away. Blackman grabs it out of the hands of Eric Green, who was ready to make a touchdown reception. It looked like a six-pointer for Pittsburgh, and yet Blackman comes over and grabs it away. The third interception of O'Donnell. Robert Blackman stops the Pittsburgh touchdown drive.
Finding work. It's the ultimate test students face. At ITT, we had a vision. Better teaching and facilities would lead to better students, which would lead to better jobs. And that's what led us to invest over $35 million in ITT Technical Institutes. It's nice to know our investment is working. ITT, we're adding more than just our name.
Napa, we're the most complete source for auto parts, and all Napa parts are backed by a nationwide warranty program. No wonder more Americans trust Napa to keep their vehicles running.
Keep America running. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens.
The 1995 Mitsubishi Galant, filled with thoughtful details.
These are a few of my favorite days.
Lease a new Galant S, $199 a month for only 24 months, with $1,000 down.
These are a few of my favorite days.
The affordable Galant S lease, perhaps the most favorite thing of all.
Broncos, Cherokees, Pathfinders, any pickup or 4x4, on-road or off. Boy, do we have a tire for you. The tough LTX Light Truck Series from Michelin.
Next Sunday, there's more great NFL action on NBC. Boomer Esiason and the high-flying Jets take on the Cleveland Browns. Or the Buffalo Bills battle the Chicago Bears. Or Rick Meyer returns to Indy as the Seahawks face the Colts. The NFL on NBC.
Love to stay. Gotta run.
Neil O'Donnell goes to the well once too often. Down the seam to Eric Green. Robert Blackman, right to the left of the bottom of your screen, is playing center field. He sees it coming. He baits the throw and picks it off. Once again, another turnover for the Steeler offense.
Joel Steed, number 93, the nose tackle for the Steelers, jumped offside. I don't know if motion pulled him off. Steelers are pointing at Seattle. 6:49 to play in the game, and the Seahawks continue to lead 20-6.
Encroachment, number 93 on the defense, 5 yards, still first down.
So that gives there's Blackman with his first interception of this season. That gives a nice play call now, Todd, to Meyer. 1st and 5. Quarterbacks like that. Although with this lead, I guess you just run it. Tracy Johnson, the up back. The handoff again goes to Chris Warren, and he fights ahead for 7 yards and a Seattle first down. Running the ball, running the clock. 6:38 to play and ticking.
Well, again, the great vision of Chris Warren cutting back against the grain. Team speed is certainly a strong suit for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they over-pursue there, and Warren takes advantage of it.
Warren gutting it out, 114 yards, playing with the chip bone in his left elbow.
And we repeat that his touchdown earlier in the game ties the Seahawk record for 7 consecutive games scoring a touchdown, originally set by Kurt Warner back in the '83 campaign.
Handoff to Warren. They keep going back to their ace runner. Steelers shut him down. He got a yard, but he does keep the clock running. Inside 6 minutes to go now as the Steelers fight to get the ball back.
Don, I'm wondering if you think it's a little bit surprising that possibly he's still in the game. Why risk injury here, up 2 touchdowns, 5:45 on the clock running? You think that maybe they'd go with someone else?
With one, that's a good point. They've got some big backs behind them, but they know what the Steelers can do. This is a team that's been down the last 2 weeks by double-digit margins and has come back to win. He's getting a lot of work, Warren. He's going to get some more. Back to Warren. He breaks it ahead, and he's ahead very close to another first down. They'll start it a yard short. It'll bring up 3rd and 1. Rod Woodson and Darren Perry were the tacklers for Pittsburgh, and now the Steelers call a timeout with 5:12 to play. Coach Cowher looking for his team to get something going. On offense, they had a couple of good drives, but turnovers have hurt them badly. 3 interceptions by the Seattle defense.
Mitsubishi Motors presents Diamonds in the Rough. As an unheralded pick from tiny Kutztown State, this wide receiver didn't even rate a wide receiver's jersey number in his first training camp. Who is this diamond in the rough?
With up to 210 horsepower, it's got power to spare. Introducing the all-new 1995 Eclipse from Mitsubishi. The new thinking in automobiles.
Andre Reed not only earned a receiver's number, he's rewritten the numbers in the record book. Besides being the Bills' most prolific receiver of all time, he owns that distinction for the Super Bowl as well. Andre Reed, a true diamond in the rough.
Taste you can turn back, trying to Pringles double stack, vacuum pack. You got to like that. Take the space out of Big Bangs, don't look so big. That's the drag, and they got pieces of those greases. Pringles got the whole chips, you bet. Triple stacks is what you get. Get the Pringles double stack of chips. Doubly hard to resist. Yeah, once you pop, you can't stop.
The Seahawks continue to lead the Steelers 20-6. And next Saturday, Todd and I will be at Notre Dame Stadium as Bill Walsh and Lou Holtz will match up. I don't know if there'll be any hugs that day. Stanford went in there a couple of years ago and upset the Irish when Notre Dame had a 16-0 halftime lead. Next Saturday, Notre Dame and Stanford here on NBC Sports. We'll be going down to Stanford tomorrow to talk to Coach Walsh and check out his players. He'll not be in good spirits, I don't think, after losing yesterday to Arizona.
But he has an opportunity to do something the only 2 other universities have done, Purdue and Michigan State, and that is beat Notre Dame 3 straight times on their field.
Yeah, the only schools that have done it. Well, we talked to Rick Meyer about playing Stanford yesterday. I said about the game that they lost. He said, it wasn't the game. He said, they got us twice when I played there.
Well, I thought it was ironic, as you mentioned that, to show that picture of Bill Walsh with his arm around Lou Holtz. He wasn't quite as chummy in talking about him in his book, was he?
No, he wasn't. someone else wrote the book, and Walsh did write a letter of apology to Holtz, but in the book he's quoted as saying Lou's a brat. A great coach, but he's just a brat. There's after he thought Lou made some excuses when Stanford upset Notre Dame. Here's a handoff to Warren on 3rd down. He doesn't get there, and he'll have to punt the ball to Pittsburgh now, will Seattle.
Conservative call, but a good one. Chris Warren running effectively. Make Pittsburgh use another timeout. Now 5:01 left.
Both teams down to 1 timeout remaining. The last thing Seattle wants to do is stop the clock. Terrific day for Warren. 25 carries, 122 yards, and a touchdown.
Now, Don, I'm curious. What do you think of Paulus, the real deal? I mean, everybody got excited the first week of the season. They're handing him the Heisman, and then reality hit in. Michigan State, 4 interceptions. Yeah. You know, now he's coming back to earth a little bit.
Well, he's good. He's got a long way to go. I mean, he's not like where kids like Dean down in Florida are right now, but he's got a great attitude, though, and he does have great ability. He's got everything Meyer had. He's strong. He can move around. He's got a good arm. And he's got a good attitude. He wants to win. He's the last guy that wants the amount of publicity he gets. He's fed up with it, I'm told. Tootin ready to punt again now for Seattle. Pittsburgh with a big rush. The ball hit well downfield. Rod Woodson is forced to fair catch it back at the 10-yard line.
Oh, that's a bad decision. And that's why he just spiked the ball. Bad decision. Fair catch at the 9-yard line. I would have think he wanted to get his hands on the ball and do something. You see how disgusted he is. Now they set up shop at the... I mean, what do they have to lose at this point? You want the ball in Rod Woodson's hands for him to do something. Very strange.
San Francisco has beaten New Orleans 24-13. Houston over Cincinnati 20-13.
There you see Bobby April on the sidelines just shaking his head saying, what's he thinking? We wanted that. We got the punt we wanted. We wanted this guy to run with it, and that's not what happened. Instead, now they got to go some nearly 90 yards to get the score. Frustrating.
And these Seattle defensive backs, they really break on the ball. And O'Donnell has no alternative now. He's just got to fire downfield. Seahawks come with a 4-man rush. Downfield throw, and nicely done as Charles Johnson, the rookie, catches it for a 9-yard gain and steps out of bounds.
You know, one good thing about this, even if Pittsburgh doesn't come back and win, one thing they'll look back on with something positive is that young man, Charles Johnson. I think this game has been really big for his confidence. 5 catches today. He's starting to come around. Ron Earhart told us that he's not a great route runner, but this has to do a lot for his feeling like he belongs in this league.
John L. Williams, as they try to negate the pass rush, catch an all-out rush and maybe break the run, but they can't do it. Bob Spitulski, a backup linebacker in the game for the Seahawks, makes the stop. Locked down to 4:30 to play. And the Seahawks leading 20-14. Ball caroms off the big guy. Eric Green, the tight end, incomplete.
Well, just as we talked about the great hands that he had, he just flat out drops this one. He's a little bit tired, you can see by the way he's running the routes. Not coming full speed across the middle. He's just got to catch the ball. Took his eye off, just as Rod Stevens, he heard the footsteps and just flat out drops it.
Steelers making the long trek to the great Northwest, and for a 2nd year in a row, coming up short, unless awful big happens over the last 4:27. 2nd and 10 for O'Donnell and the Steelers. Yancey Thigpen running a slant. O'Donnell throwing it out. Incomplete.
But both wide receivers on that side, Hastings and Thigpen, ran slants. I think Thigpen ran the wrong route. Saw him clap his hands. He knew he was supposed to hook, and he came back and patted O'Donnell on the rear end, said sorry, but sorry doesn't cut it when you're down 2 touchdowns with less than 4.5 minutes left.
And you talked, Todd, about statistics. 356 yards for the Steelers, 286 for Seattle. And yet the only numbers that count on the board, it's Seattle 20, Pittsburgh 6. Intercepted. Orlando Waters, the rookie, takes it in. Touchdown, Seattle, and the game is locked up for the Seahawks. The guy was called on the start for Patrick Hunter. There's Patrick.
Well, to the right of your screen, they come back with the hook route, but he just makes a bad throw. Throws it way behind, and that enables Waters to cut in front of Thigpen and go the distance. You know, that's got to feel good. Here's a rookie free agent that, frankly, Don was just happy to make the team, just to be there and run at her kicks. Now, all of a sudden, he finds himself starting in a National Football League game. Not only that, he gets an interception and a touchdown.
John Casey continues perfect kicking the ball this season for Seattle, extending the Seahawks lead to 27-6. O'Donnell 19 for 39, 233 yards. And 4 interceptions, the last run back for a touchdown. Just as Myers saw one run back last week.
Well, he certainly has shown a lot of poise, number 31. Oh, Trey Junkin come over to congratulate him. Hey, we both got touchdowns today.
Right. That's touchdown scores.
Well, the big question, Don, is whether or not Neil O'Donnell is the man that can lead them to the Super Bowl. Clearly, everybody knows about their running attack, the outstanding offensive line, the defense that has the ability to shut people down. Take a look at the numbers of completion percentage that Terry Bradshaw had the first year that the Pittsburgh Steelers won the Super Bowl. Far less than 50%, and yet O'Donnell at 56%. But today's performance certainly belies that. 4 interceptions by that man right there. He has really struggled, even though he does have some yardage.
But last week he was terrific, leading him from behind. And when you look at winning, he's the last 2 years. 2 years ago they won the division and went to the playoffs, and last year, of course, they went to the playoffs. So he's been a winning quarterback.
Well, and Don, you know, the other thing, too, is in fairness to him, you and I watched a little of the Kansas City game today, and Montana was just atrocious. You're not going to throw him out because of one game, you know, and so these sorts of things happen from week to week in the National Football League.
Bam Morris on the run for the Pittsburgh Steelers across the 20. He's a full load as Bam Morris is out to the 27-yard line. And Neil O'Donnell's right back out to start shucking.
You know, he had that big return earlier. They might want to rethink the idea of putting somebody as valuable as Rod Woodson back there on kickoff returns. Not only, as you mentioned, is Bam Morris a load, he can move. Terrific returns.
It's all about Super Bowl QBs. There's some of the numbers.
You get a chance to contrast him with 3 other quarterbacks who won Super Bowls who may not exactly be headed to Canton. Mark Rippon, Jeff Hostetler, and Doug Williams. Neil O'Donnell, a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio last year and 3,000 yards. Certainly he's capable. But the question is he the guy necessarily that they want there? But right now, I think given this one game, he can do it. I really do.
Rush was on him that time. He just got it away.
You know, the other thing, too, Don, is that it's discussed ad nauseum, is that the quarterback gets too much of the credit and too much of the blame.
No question.
You know, in this situation, you're going to look and you're going to say the 4 interceptions, that's the reason that they lost the game. But the Pittsburgh defense did absolutely nothing to stop Chris Warren. You have to question the play calling down at the goal line when the score was 20-6. What they were doing, running the ball, very predictably going to play action on 3rd down. A lot of factors go into being defeated. It's just too easy to pin the blame on one guy.
O'Donnell on the run. He's going to take it. And he slides ahead to the 35-yard line. He'll be short of a first down, bring up 3rd down and 3 with the clock running and 3:48 to play.
That was kind of cute at the end of the run. He fake pumps the defender when he's 6 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Hey, whatever works.
That's great.
Guy backed off a little.
I like Neil. He threw me a pass before the game out of nowhere. It's kind of fun.
Now the markers come flying in as Yancey Thigpen makes the catch and is down by Orlando Waters.
Pretty obvious face mask. It'll be interesting because, as you mentioned, 2 came in as to whether or not it's of the 5 or 15-yard variety.
It's very unlikely the Steelers can win this game, to say the least, at 27-6, but they'd sure like to get a touchdown up just to get something going before they leave Seattle.
Foul, face mask. Number 31 on the defense, 15 yards, first down.
Well, as we mentioned, the possibility of the 15-yarder, and you saw the replay, that's why. Orlando Waters in midair is holding onto the face mask, and that's the sort of thing that causes injuries. Good call by the official.
I'll tell you, Todd, who I would not want to be, and that's the Houston Oilers, who have to go to Pittsburgh a week from tomorrow. Steelers will be in ill humor for that.
Houston Oilers just coming off their first win of the season, defeating the Cincinnati Bengals 20-13.
It's ironic, though. A year ago, they were 1-3 also, then won 11 straight. Beautiful throw to the end zone. Touchdown, Steelers. So O'Donnell picked off for a touchdown in his previous possession, throws a perfect strike to the rookie, Charles Johnson, who has his first NFL touchdown.
Well, and it shows a lot of the resilience for Neil O'Donnell. I mean, you got to give him a lot of credit. He comes out here after throwing 4 interceptions, scores 27-6. Certainly, he could have come over to head coach Bill Cowher and said, hey, look, I've had it for today. Take me out. Go with the reserve. I don't want to get hurt. Instead, he leads his team downfield on a 73-yard drive for a touchdown. Interestingly enough, with that catch, the offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers has gone over 400 yards total offense. Last week they had 500 yards. And so when people pick up the paper and read the statistics, they are going to be deceived.
Well, they might not be done. There's still time. 3:17 to go. They're going to kick the extra point, not go for 2. Gary Anderson routinely drives it through. So with 3:17 to play, it's now Seahawks 27, Steelers 13.
Good protection here, and O'Donnell puts it right on the money. What a terrific throw. Steps up, and as you called it, Don, just stride for stride. Look at that again. Not bad coverage. They had the safety over there in plenty of time, but O'Donnell lays it right in there. Charles Johnson fighting off the chuck of Carlton Gray, and with the bad ankle, Gray cannot keep up, and even though Robinson comes over playing center field, the throw's too good. Touchdown, Steelers.
And you can see there why Charles Johnson was a #1 draft choice. He's caught 6 today for 90 yards.
Before the game, Don, I chatted with Ron Earhart, and I said, are you going to make a conscious effort to get this young man the ball so he can build his confidence? And he said yes. He said, we got to get him the ball. Even though he isn't a great route runner, he's a great athlete, and he is fearless going over the middle, and we've seen some of that today.
Now do we have the onside kick try? They got the hands team out there for Seattle.
I don't know. I guess the fact that 10 of the 11 Steelers are on one side would give it away, huh?
There's the numbers for Neil O'Donnell for the day. Rick Meyer with some great numbers for Seattle. Anderson will bounce it down the AstroTurf field.
Trying to get that big second hop. Second hop. That's a gutsy play on the part of Paul Green, and I'll tell you why. The whole idea, of course, of the onside kick is to get that big second hop to bounce off the AstroTurf. Paul Green, former tight end from USC, nice in there before it can get the second bounce. That's great hands on the part of number 87.
Yeah, we want to remind everyone on the East Coast that the world premiere of a powerful mystery thriller, The Innocent, with Emmy Award winner Kelsey Grammer of Frasier, starring in that. He's a cop in this motion picture trying to save a young boy targeted for murder. You'll see The Innocent in its entirety on the East Coast immediately after this game. And on the West Coast at the normally scheduled time. Handoff goes. Running with the ball, Tracy Johnson. And he takes it inside the 30.
Dan McGuire now in at quarterback as well. Rick Meyer sitting this one out. Later they're just going to run the ball here. I think that's got to be frustrating for Dan McGuire, former first-round pick out of San Diego State. Had some injury problems. The 6'8" McGuire really thought that he had a shot at being the future for the Seattle Seahawks. But then, of course, once they made the pick of Meyer, second pick in the draft, he knew that he was going to be relegated to a backup role.
They had some tough picks as #1 draft choice at quarterback. Kelly Stauffer is out of the league. Dan McGuire had some problems, a lot of them due to injury. Meyer finally was the guy that they'd hoped for a long time. Prior to him, the best quarterback they've had in Seattle were free agents, Jim Zorn and Dave Craig. Markers all over the Steelers in ill humor as this day has not gone their way.
Well, Darren Perry, a little frustrated, just pushes Michael Bates in the back. Situation where near the end, you don't anticipate that you've got wide receivers that are going to be aggressive and cutting guys downfield or that sort of thing, but Michael Bates hasn't had much playing time, and he doesn't understand the brother-in-law act in a game that is no longer undecided.
2:21 to play.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 39, 15 yards, half the distance to the goal, first down.
There it is right there, throwing at the leg. It's a long ways away from the play, and Perry isn't happy about it, and he tells him. And you know what? Perry, he certainly shouldn't have done that. And of course, right there,
that's always the guy.
It's always the second guy, right? Always the second guy. They didn't mention if Perry was ejected, but he's out of the game.
I'll tell you, this guy is some good football player, though. Darren Perry from Penn State.
Well, you consider the fact that he was, I believe, an 8th-round pick out of Penn State and kind of an afterthought. A lot of people didn't really think that he'd come into this league and do much. And again, not a real physical specimen either, about 5'9", 185 pounds. But he's manned the free safety position quite well for the Steelers.
NFL interception leader. McGuire hands off to a rookie, Lamar Smith, who runs the ball, as we're getting guys winning letters out there now. Backup troops in there. Rick Meyer and his numbers.
Not a fantastic day, but an effective one. Certainly helps when you have somebody back there who rushes for 126 yards, as Chris Warren did.
Now the 2-minute warning is given here at Husky Stadium.
This is great. Don't you get it? We're dead. We don't get it there by 11. We're shut out. Game is over.
Dave, just tell him to send over a copy. Don't panic.
There's no copy. We didn't have time.
We're dead.
That's what I said. We're dead. I just said we're dead.
At Compact, we realize you never know when you're going to need information or where. So we created Aero, a powerful computer so small and lightweight you'll never be tempted to leave it behind.
See? No reason to panic. I'm buying lunch.
Lunch? You mean dinner?
The issue is returning to work. Liberty Mutual has its own rehabilitation center where they develop new ways to help injured workers back to their jobs healthier. Liberty's approach helped one workers' comp customer cut losses by 43%. Getting people back to work, it's the best therapy of all. Liberty Mutual, facing the issues that face our customers.
27-13, Seattle with the lead and the ball, 2:03 to play. The Steelers just took their last timeout. They'll get another one now at the 2-minute warning. Tracy Johnson, like a pinball wizard, bouncing off people. Spinning ahead, and he's to the 11-yard line. That brings up 3rd and 9. They put some time back on the clock, and Steelers called their last timeout. Now the 2-minute warning is given. 1:58 to play in the game. All right, let's some of the scores now. Miami, Minnesota. Minnesota a 38-35 winner after leading 28-0 over the Dolphins. The Rams a 16-point underdog, win 16-0 over the favored Chiefs. Cleveland takes Indianapolis 21-14. Cleveland Browns go to 3-1, and they'll take the Central Division lead in the AFC. Atlanta was down and rallied back to beat Washington 27-20. The Green Bay Packers, a commanding performance by Brett Favre, and they today win over Tampa Bay 30-3. The Packers go to 2-2. San Diego beating the Raiders on a John Carney field goal with 2 seconds to play, 26-24. New England evens its record at 2-2 as they go to the Silverdome and beat the Detroit Lions 23-17. San Francisco had some problems at New Orleans and rallied to win going away 24-13. And Houston gets its first win of the season, beating Cincinnati 20-13. The Bengals fall to 0-4. We look now at the standings in the AFC West. San Diego, a surprise leader. Kansas City now 3-1 after losing today. Seattle will go to 3-1. The Raiders fall to 1-3, and Denver, heading into Buffalo, is 0-3 so far. in the Central Division. Cleveland will have a one-game lead over the Steelers at the end of this day as the Browns win today at Indianapolis and the Steelers will lose here at Seattle. Houston winning in Cincinnati 0-4. I wonder if they got a sack today. The number 1 pick on the draft, Big Daddy Wilkinson, a pass rusher, and through 3 games they had no sacks as a team. They're still under the cap, though, Todd. They can sign somebody. $6 million under the cap.
They can sign a lot of people. I thought, you know what, though, and I know that this is a lot of pressure from sports radio and the local writers, but I thought that was a bit much calling Wilkinson Big Cruddy. I mean, that's uncalled for.
He's big-time good, as they'll find out.
Well, again, you know, it's unfair. He's the first pick of the draft, but clearly there are a lot of holes in the Cincinnati Bengals organization and team, you know, that you can't necessarily say that a defensive tackle is going to come in, you know, right away, and you're going to put wins on the board because of one guy.
John Casey on the field now to try to add to his point total and to the Seahawks. With 1:13 to go, the clock running, he'll try yet another field goal. He's not missed a kick this season. He's 2 for 2 on field goals today. 4 for 4 on field goals for the season. And now the Seahawks call timeout.
Well, what Rick Tootin did is he stood by the official red cash and let the clock go down to 1 second and then called the timeout, trying to take as much time off the clock as he could. And you know what's interesting here, the psychology that coaches will play with particular players. Certainly, you know, up 27-13, you could say to yourself, let's just run the play, take off a little bit more time, Steelers take over. But in giving Casey this opportunity, he's showing him not only confidence, but giving him an opportunity to help himself statistically, and that's important to people. You know, that does play on your mind a little bit because even though it's a team game, there are individual things to consider. And Flory's giving him this opportunity to kick and showing some confidence in him. And here's the other thing, too. This young man is a free agent at the end of the season who certainly, because of his kickoffs as well as his accuracy on field goals, is going to command some big money. And Flores wants to be buddies with him.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he's right on time again. It's 30-13 as John Casey strikes yet another 3 for 3 on field goals. And in what was rated an even game, the Seahawks build their lead to 30-13 with 1:06 to play. The Seahawks will be heading into Indianapolis, the capital city of Indiana, next Sunday to play the Colts, who are on the throes of a 3-game losing streak. Rick Meyer will have a lot of people in the stands at that one. He's from Goshen, Indiana, northern part of the state. Rick Meyer, who started as a well-known football guy at age 8 when he won the national pass, punt, and kick at Soldier Field in Chicago. There he is with his dad. His dad said he never got over it. When he went out in the field, the crowd was cheering before he threw his final passes. He put his arms up to quiet the crowd, 8 years old.
Now, I'm trying to think. Now, I think you'd have to go back to, say, Bradshaw or whatever. He's checking himself. He's smiling. He saw himself up on the monitor. You know, I wonder if he's uncomfortable with all that adulation and attention, Don. I mean, at Notre Dame, all of that happened. He comes into the league as a ballyhooed quarterback, and I mean, every week he's got to put up with all the media attention. I tell you what, though, I've got to say, give credit to his dad and mom. This young man really has his head on straight.
Hey, very mature. I asked him yesterday if it's true what Montana said, that there's more pressure quarterbacking in Notre Dame than the NFL. He says there is, but you don't realize it when you're there because it's all you know. You haven't been in the NFL yet. Dean Wells makes the tackle on the kickoff. And with 1:01 to play, the Steelers send their offense back out. We remind you that the executive producer of NBC Sports is Tommy Roy. The coordinating producer of NFL football, John Faratzis. Today's game was produced by Bill Bunnell, directed by Bucky Guntz. Technical manager Alan Shear, and also our thanks to Associate Director Ray Benassi, to our spotters Ron Cowden and Mike McKenna, production assistant Darrell Love, the Mixmaster Easy D, Darrell Love as they call him, Barry Culver, our statistician, Kathy Rossini, our stage manager, to Todd Christensen. Here's a throw downfield and a catch. Ernie Mills makes the reception. Too little and much too late for the Steelers as they run into alignment without any timeouts. It will not be pretty when Houston comes to Pittsburgh a week from tomorrow night.
Well, Mike Tomczak gets a chance to pad his numbers a little bit. 2 for 2.
I would not want to be the Oilers. Here is the pitch over the middle. John L. Williams takes it inside the 35-yard line down to the 33. And that will do it. Bill Cowher comes across the field to shake the hand of Tom Flores, and we'll be coming back to Husky Stadium at Seattle, Washington, where the Seahawks have just defeated the Steelers 30-13.